It's time for one final hurrah here in 2020, and a warm welcome to you all for the final round of the Simsport Racing GT3 Driver Swap Series with Alex Goldschmidt and Steve Proudley, your two familiar voices here as always. Good evening, Steve. One final time here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, and we have two titles to decide this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, Alex, and good evening to everyone watching. Really looking forward to it. Monza is always an exciting track. Turn 1, needless to say, and also I think Turn 3 as well can throw up some interesting actions in the first couple of laps, but should be a good race tonight. Driver swaps, obviously, always interesting with the pit strategies and things, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this one.
So, the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, based in Italy. It's been around since September 1922, nearly a century in operation. And the current lap record held by a former Formula One driver in the form of Rubens Barrichello back in 2004 with a 1 minute 21.046. Obviously, with the GT3 machinery, it's going to be a lot less than that. It's going to be a lot higher than that in terms of the seconds that will tick away as they negotiate their way around the circuit. As always, a 20-minute qualifying session. It's a 2.5 hour, that's a 150-minute race. 3 mandatory pit stops. Tyres are required on all pit stops, and drivers cannot spend any more than 80 minutes behind the wheel. So some drivers will try and push that envelope, but let's have a look at what happened at round 3 at Mount Panorama. Obviously not broadcasted last time, but it was Grifax Engineering's Ivan Shermasinski and William Hendrickson that took pole position in qualifying, fastest lap of the race, and with it came a victory. So a maximum score of 127 points. Then it was Team Fordzilla & Co.'s Harry Spears and Jordan Burrows in the 185 Mercedes taking second position ahead of the pair from Simply Race, Zanshow Simsport, John Munro and Ross McGregor in the Bentley. Followed by Dean Riley and Rich Smith with Chris Pinchbeck and Regan Mitchell. Oh, of course, wasn't it someone's birthday today, Steve?
Indeed it is, yes. Mr. Christopher Pinchbeck, the ripe old 47 years of age today, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying that.
I'm sure he won't. So many happy returns, Chris, from all the community and everyone watching. Stephen Haley and Aaron Walker rounded out the top 6 ahead of Mark Neutlings and Adam Isalovic, Angus Martin and Stijn Pasmont, Johan Pedersen and Marin Samol in the Soul Jaguar, rounding out the top 9 ahead of Pulse Simsport's Glenn Guest and Harry Gale, rounding out the top 10. Let's have a look at these standings coming into the final round. So it is Team Fordzilla & Co. In the 185 Mercedes of Harry Spears and Jordan Burrows. They have what looks to be a 34-point advantage over Grifax Engineering's Ivan Shermasinski and William Hendrickson, with John Munro and Ross McGregor a further 32 points behind. Don't count out Team Vodafone's Dean Riley and Rich Smith in 4th place. They're just 10 points off 3rd position at the moment. I understand that James Parker was unable to take part in round 3, but Joe McCauley looking for a second driver. I'm not too sure if that's happened, but they're P5 in the standings ahead of Stephen Haley, Chris and Aaron Walker, Chris Pinchbeck and Regan Mitchell, Charlie Crossland and Fabian Piffet. Piffet providing the standout moment of the season at Suzuka earlier on this year, ahead of Aaron Martin Pilkington and Matt Kennedy in the Total Performance Racing 626 Nissan. Equal on points with Glenn Guest and Harry Gaylor in the Pulse Simsport B Mercedes 53, who have actually signed out of this evening's event. Johan Pedersen and Marin Small in 11th, ahead of Angus Martin and Stijn Pasmont in 12th, with Jack Roderick and John Clements in 13th, ahead of Richard Pixley and Daniel Parker in 14th, and the number 76 Lexus, with Dean Allen and Daryl Upton rounding out the top 15 in the PSR 119 Audi R8 LMS Evo. So, as you can see, happy birthday from us all here at Simsport Racing to Chris Pinchbeck. And what was it, the ripe old age of 21 again, was it, Steve?
No, it was 47.
Okay, I think I can get my numbers well mixed up, but many happy returns, Chris.
Thank you very much, mate. That's it. Perfect.
look, he's got a new race number for next season. Hashtag, number 47. But congratulations, Chris. Many happy returns from us all here. So it's really, you can see, ripe young age of 47. I'm sure that we're going to have no end of ribbing from Mr. Pinchbeck after that one. However, a big welcome to everyone. Also from our good friends at SRHI, Aaron, good evening. Good evening to Paul Lindsay, Daniel Parker, Yannick Muller, one of our usuals in the GT4 side of things. It's going to get rather interesting here because, Steve, full throttle all the way pretty much around the lap, about 70%, as we're waiting for qualifying to get underway. Who are the people that we're going to really have to look out for? Because we had 22 cars at Bathurst. We've now got 16. Obviously, a lot of people making plans for the festive cheer at the end of next week, depending on the situation with the relevant tiers here in the United Kingdom and also over in Europe. Who do you think are going to be some dark horses we need to watch out for tonight?
Well, we've got the new addition of Luca Burke and Jack McIntyre in the McLaren, which have just looking at them in the practice server a few moments ago, they were definitely on the pace in the sort of 47s and 48s, which 47 is a good qualifying pace around here. I think 48s will be somewhere in the race sort of pace. Slightly smaller grid than we've been used to, as you've just touched on there. There's some people have dropped out due to the holidays coming up to us, so I think we've got about 17 cars on the grid tonight. So traffic will be less of a problem, shall we say? But I think those two, and I think Haley and Walker have mentioned that they've got the Porsche going fairly well. Birthday boy Pinchbeck is pretty quick in his car, so yeah, there's a few. It's anybody's race, I think, that's in the sort of top 10 definitely.
Well, before we get into the business of qualification, let's have a look at a hot lap around the 3.6 mile circuit here at Monza. Welcome on board the number 69 Mercedes-AMG GT3 of Regan Mitchell as we go on a hot lap here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, crossing the start-finish line, heading down to the Rettifilio chicane. Accelerating all the way up to 274 on the speedo, from 6th all the way down the gearbox to 1st, 70 kilometers an hour on the first apex, 65 on the second, and then you start powering out of the corner, up through 2nd, up to 3rd, now up to 4th, going through the right at Curva Grande, hitting the apex at 5th gear, around about 220 kilometers an hour before you head towards the Variante della Loggia, the second chicane here. Braking from 260 and 6th all the way down to 2nd, 80 kilometers an hour through the first apex, and through the right-hand second apex, you accelerate from 100 kilometers an hour. Up to 4th gear, and you'll push around 200 k's before you brake around 50 meters out, down to 130 on the speedo in 3rd gear. Accelerate, pull 4th gear up to the second Lesmo, down again to 3rd, 130 on the apex. Now power out of the corner, making sure you keep to track limits as you head towards the Curva del Seraglio. It's a left-hand kink here, and you're going to take the apex at full commitment at 225 kilometers an hour in 5th gear before pulling 6th, before the Variante Ascari. Now it's down from 6th gear down to 3rd, 140 kilometers an hour on the first entrance, and then into the exit at 180 before you start pulling the gears. You're up into 4th, you're accelerating up to 5th gear, now heading over to the Curva Parabolica, the final corner here at Monza, accelerating up to around 268 before you put on the anchors, down to 3rd, 135 through the first part of it, but then you start to accelerate. Now pulling 4th gear, going up the gears, exiting around 200 kilometers an hour. And you're going to accelerate to 5th and cross the line at 240 kilometers an hour in a 147.5. Right, we're into the throes of qualification. There is birthday boy Chris Pinchbeck in the number 43 Apex Racing Mercedes. We've got 17 cars on the grid, so it is driver 1, if memory serves me correctly, Steve, that is actually out in qualification. So we have the likes of Burke, Walker, Spears, Pixley, Pinchbeck, Martin de Tolanera, Dorazio, Schlitter, Hagel, Calci, Hendrickson, Isalovic, Dafas, Monroe, DeBar and Samol. And I'm just trying to have a look that effectively if Shermatinsky and Hendrickson take a maximum score this evening, all that Harry Spears and Jordan Burrows need to do is to secure 3rd place, and they've picked up the title this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still open. Still lots can happen in a driver swap race, as we've seen previously. Pit stops can go wrong. Strategies can be different and beneficial to others when it comes to lapping cars, things like that. There's lots to go on. It's a long race. But yeah, championship's close. It's going to be interesting. I mean, we'll see Hendrickson, Spears, John Monroe, he's on the pace. Burke, they're all very quick and very straight into the 47s, and it's looking like it's going to be very close qualifying.
Indeed it is. So looks like sunshine over the next 15 or so minutes. Track temperature 23 degrees Celsius. air temperature 16 degrees. It's an optimum track as we're on board inside the cockpit of Harry Spears as he goes through the Ascari chicane in the 185 Mercedes. He's going to exit at around about 180 kilometres an hour, runs a little bit wide to the right-hand side, up to fourth, pushing over 140 miles an hour. And this is where you have to be a bit brave on the brakes, because now he's going to drop down from, he's brake from about fifth gear, nearly 260 kph on the speedo, through into the parabolica. And at the moment, he's looking not too shabby at the moment, is Harry Spears. But William Hendrickson has already put in the benchmark of 1 minute 47.394. And that particular lap from Harry Spears was a 1:48.639. And as I say that, the 105 goes second on a 1 minute 47.481. 87 thousandths adrift goes Burke in the McLaren.
Yeah, very, very close. Like I say, they're all on it, aren't they? They're all gunning for it, and it's always impressive, I think, watching the onboards of the guys around Monza, because it is a lot of people say it's an easy track, but it's a track that needs a lot of commitment, and the parabolica as well, as we saw, exiting. It's such an important corner to get the exit right, to get the speed, to gain all that time down the start-finish straight. You've got to get that apex as you turn in just right, and then you want to get on the power. You've got to be a little bit patient, let the car run out wide, not go too far over the curbs to invalidate the lap, but just to get that drive onto the start-finish straight. And then obviously, as we're just looking at John Munro there, into the braking zone for turn one, and then they're just using the curb, running onto the green AstroTurf, which is about the best line there. You don't want to be on the curb, because you do lose a bit of traction, you lose a bit of time, but if you just go that bit further onto the AstroTurf, it is quite often the fastest way through on the exit of turn one there.
And also, just looking at how he was going through Curva Grande, he was very tight to the apex, but did not touch the inside curbing. It's literally Muller's nigh on the sausage curb coming through the Rogers chicane, but decides to park it in the pits. But they have actually gone quickest in the Bentley, 1 minute 46.965. Will Hendrickson in second, Luca Burke in third place, Harry Spears, Marion Samol, Aaron Walker, Adam Isolovic, Ranjiv Kelsey, with Chris Pinchbeck and Richard Pixley at the top 10. They're covered by 1.776 seconds. And then Gerard Debar in the 119 McLaren, partnering with Jeffrey Wolf. There is that lone wild Jaguar in the hands of Marion Samol. And they've really done a good job this season, despite being the only pairing that has decided to use the British Cat with the fangs here in the GT3 Driver Swap Series.
Yeah, and I mean, I may be incorrect here, but I think Monza's a pretty good track for the Jaguar as well, because it is quick. It's got a lot of top-end speed, and this is a high-speed track, obviously. So I think the Jag could fare pretty well here this evening, and it could be, shall we say, the dark horse to watch. That could be a dark horse that you're asking me about earlier, because definitely they will have some good pace. It's just the back end of the circuit, getting it hustling it around the corners as quick as the other boys. But if they're in front, then they could potentially do some defending and finish fairly high up tonight.
Yeah, we'll just keep on board with Marion Samol at the moment in the Exodus Racing Esports number 37 Jaguar XKRS GT3. Daniel Parker already saying on the chat, "Oh, I missed my Jag." Well, you and Richard should have got back into it, mate. Come on, Mr. Parker. Needs to get you and Pixley back in the Jaguars for next season. So looking pretty good. To come across the start-finish line, 7.5 tenths off the provisional pole at the moment, 1:47.6. So not too actually running quite consistently, aren't they?
Yeah, that's a pretty good time, and he was very tidy coming through Parabolica. Maybe didn't push it quite as wide as he could have done, maybe having just to tame the throttle a little bit, but he's still in the ballpark timing-wise. Pinchbeck at the moment, he's on a faster lap. He's down in 9th place, but he's actually currently about 4 tenths up, I believe. So you see what he can do with this lap as he's approaching the line now. Looks like he's got a good exit through Parabolica, and let's see where this puts him now. 4 tenths, but it only gains him 1 place up to 8th. He's just over a second off the pole time at the moment, and to be honest, Chris won't mind me saying, I expect a little better from Chris. He likes this track, and he's pretty quick round here.
Well, normally when we had Season 3 GT3, he was running in an Audi, wasn't he, for the majority of it? So He's changed to different machinery, but that was a 1 minute 48 flat from Pinchbeck. It looks like the 488 has also jumped up. So that's to Tolonera, up to 12th position, and that is on a 1 minute 49.059. Looks like Martin the 617, the Dam Busters Motorsport entry. That's Angus, Martin and Stain Passport, rounding out the top 15. And still anyhow here, Steve, the top 8 covered by literally a fraction over 1 second as we're into the second half of qualifying. But John Munro's done a really good job in that Bentley, and he's thrown the proverbial cat amongst the Mercedes, McLaren and Jaguar pigeons, and also a Porsche or two.
Yeah, well, if you think back to when we interviewed John at his last podium, I asked him about the qualifying for the Bentley, and he said it's not a car to quality that's great at qualifying. You literally, you're relying on your race pace and your consistency. You just need to obviously qualify as well as you can, but it's certainly not a hot lap car. But he's certainly found his legs around Monza, and that's a cracking time as a 46.9. Obviously, he's not far up the road from Hendrickson, but at the moment he is quicker, so he's got that current provisional pole position. As we're just watching Pinchbeck again, he's approaching the line. Not quite sure if he's up this time, but he is indeed. He's up to 6th place now. That's a little bit more like it, Chris, but I'm sure the birthday boy can squeeze a little bit more power out of that Mercedes today.
Yeah, seems like that someone's gone 7 tenths up, and I think that's the Tolonera in the 488 that's gone a few tenths up. There he is in the Blue Flag Racing 488. It's a car that should feel pretty much at home here at Monza. So goes P10, 1.4 seconds off the pace, so 1 minute 48.369. There's Aaron Walker in the 911. And he's 2.5 tenths up, I understand. So the Porsche looking to stretch its legs a bit. Look how tight Aaron Walker is on the right-hand side. It goes P4. That was a brilliant lap. A 1 minute 47.556. Top 5. And when you think about it, Steve, from Luca Burke down to Aaron Walker, the gap between them is literally what? That's 75 thousandths of a second, and then 6 1,000ths back to Harry Spears. But Hendrickson's closed on Monroe in the meantime.
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking like Harry's a tenth up at this early part of the lap now as well. So the times in the, as you say, in the top 10, certainly very much so. To the top 8, they're absolutely all really putting those flying laps in now. And we're hearing that multiple cars are now up on their best times, but the times are so close, and the boys are extracting every ounce of power out of the cars. And as we see there, they're using every centimetre of the track at the moment and trying to get that provisional pole away from John Munro. That is very close at the moment up at the top.
Very much the case. So Munro just 48 thousandths quicker than Griphax Engineering's Will Hendrickson as we're into the last 6 minutes and 40 seconds as we see Harry Spears absolutely pushing the limit of adhesion. He's got Luca Burke in the 105 McLaren running in the he's hitting a proper toe there. That's the biggest thing here, Steve, because this could help. This can get him closer to the likes of Burke, to the likes of Hendrickson and to Munro. Harry Spears could really go for it.
He's been a bit of a cheeky boy there, isn't he? Getting a toe from the guy he's going to now, I think, leapfrog in the standings. And indeed, there he does go straight up to second place, but only by 0.015 behind Munro. So Munro is hanging on to that provisional pole by the skin of his proverbial teeth. Just Pinchbeck's just he was 3 tenths up on the lap there. Who we're just watching Chris now, but obviously I think he's just exceeded track limits there, so that lap will not count. So I think he might just back off a little bit, cool the tyres off a little bit, and then take it for another flying lap. But yeah, the times are really coming to the boys now, and it is just getting closer and closer.
Yeah, it looks like CHS Racing are giving John Munro a bit of support. Dave Jones, good evening. Better late than never, my friend, as we now enter into the last 5 minutes and 20 seconds. So the top 3 in this final GT3 Driver Swap qualifying session covered by 2 1,000 shy of half a tenth of a second. And if that's not a big enough mouthful, I don't know what is. But Pinchbeck looking to try and improve from 7th position. Best effort from him so far, a 1 minute 47.802. He wasn't the other one that was running a bit wide at the pair of the Lesmos. Ranjiv Kalsi, I did notice a bit earlier, about 3 or 4 minutes ago, had double trouble, so to speak, Steve. He ran wide at Lesmo 1, and then all of a sudden Lesmo 2, and then he decided to hit the escape button and go back to the pits. So whether the 71 Ferrari could actually move up the order, he's still got a little bit of time, but it's going to be close to the wire.
Yeah, absolutely. He's, you've got to get that outlap in, get the heat into the tyres. And to be fair, with the tyre model in ACC, sometimes it can take a couple of laps to actually get the car dialed in. So these boys that are staying out now, and they've been running a bit more fuel just so they can stay out, the car will be coming to them now as the fuel load drops, but the tyres are nicely warmed up, everything's bedded in, and they've done their sighting laps. They've got some fast laps in, but they're all pushing that bit harder now, and I think it's probably benefit to stay out, to be fair. But we're just watching Luca Burke again, and he's up on his time. So Luca Burke is in 4th, and I mean, look at those times, Alex. John Munro 146.965, which he did set some time ago now, but Spears 0.015 of a second, Hendrickson 0.048 of a second, Luca Burke, well, a 10th and a half off Aaron Walker, half a second back. It's so close, and it's still anybody's. It's still anybody's. I mean, yeah, Aaron Walker at the moment 3/10 up on this current lap, so that would potentially, if he can just squeeze a little bit more out of it, he could get in front of Burke. He would have to go a little bit quicker, just get a little bit more time. But if he can keep it going, it's all good.
I think apart from having the advantage that Harry Spears just had, courtesy of Luca Burke, if he had a toe, this could really help him. But he's trying to keep it as neat and tidy as possible. Now he comes through into the Ascari chicane. Keeping it nice and planted is Aaron. He's not exceeding track limits within the bigger realm of things, and that's quite neat through the Ascari chicane, where we've seen the likes of Harry Spears and a few others run wide as the Porsche now makes its way hurtling towards Parabolica, deep onto the brakes, trying to take a tight line through. I'll run out a little bit wide. And he nearly bailed there. He nigh on bailed and then decided to pull out, and then still stays 5th. And that's his best lap so far. So even with the neatness, it's still going to be a problem for him, isn't it? Because we've only got 2.25 minutes left to go.
Yeah, I mean, there's Harry just getting a little bit sideways through Parabolica. That's not what you want to do, because that's going to cock up his next lap as well. Basically, he's lost his time from that lap, and it may just cost him some time on the straight now as well, so he'll be on the back foot on this lap as well. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Walker was really, really tidy, but he must have lost that 2/10 at some point in the latter stages, whether it was at Ascari or coming out of the Parabolica. I mean, the Parabolica looked very, very safe, and it was almost too safe, where maybe just it was a little bit too cautious coming onto the power out on the exit there. Not quite sure, obviously, but we're talking about tenths of a second, and obviously that's what counts. But it's absolutely the margins of time are so small.
Is it me, or has Adam Misalovic got a new livery there? From when I can't remember off the top of my head, because it was so long since round 2. But there was a little bollard that was askew, and he's just gone P5 with just over 1.25 minutes remaining in the session. Marion Samol still in the Jaguar, trying to push like absolute crazy, and not too far in the distance is Harry Spears. I think I saw the Lexus. That's the Lexus of Richard Pixley going past underneath the bridge, heading into the Ascari. Yes, Dave Jones, this is Assetto Corsa Competizione on PC. There's Marcus Hagel, followed by Niall Schleter. Hagel goes off and hits the barriers. Evan Daffus in the number 79 crew, partnering Denise Pope, who has been, I must give her credit, Steve, she's been an absolute stalwart in both GT3 and GT4, and it's lovely to have someone like Denise joining the community here at Simsport Racing.
Yeah, and she has become part of the community. She often pops up in chat, and yeah, as you say, she's participating in quite a lot of our races now, which is good because we've got a host of new championships coming up in 2021 with a new GT4 and a new GT3 league starting in January. So you need to look us up on the website at www.simsport-racing.com for the Discord link and join the community and sign up for the championships. But it's looking like we have got a new provisional pole. I say provisional pole because there are still a few guys on track, but Spears has put it on pole position at the minute.
1 minute 46.782. The checkered is out for the session. John Munro and William Hendrickson have got to find some time. Hendrickson will not improve and stays third. And at the moment, Pinchbeck is out there.
Monroe's sending it. That Bentley was a little bit loose onto the turn in there into Ascari, but he's really sending it at the moment.
He's doing a Danny Rick. Lick the stamp and send it, Mr. Munro, as he now enters into the Parabolica for the final time in this qualification session. Chris Pinchbeck's still out. Ranjiv Kalsi's still out. Richard Pixley still out. But let's just stay with John Munro. Will Simply Race Sancho Simsport take the final pole position of the season? He's about to cross the line.
No,
it's not enough. Not enough. A 1 minute 47.079. Richard Pixley in the 76 Lost Lexus Racing gets sideways going through the first part of Parabolica, but he held on to it. But Harry Spears, I think, is not going to have to worry about that. There's Evan Dafas in the HTRC Wild Things 79 Lexus as he now comes round the Parabolica. Let's see if Evan actually improves this time around. He's about to cross the line and does a personal best. But Steve, the first biggest confidence booster for Team Fordzilla & Co. has just been achieved because Harry Spears and Jordan Burrows have just taken the final pole position of this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, they've done the best job they can in qualifying, which is putting it on pole. Obviously, giving them the best chance to walk away with what is a fun championship this season. It's just something we've thrown together sort of last minute and run it. But I think, with those times, is anybody safe? It's all so close, and it's all going to come down to the opening laps and to see who starts battling, to see who gets the head down, see if anyone can make a break. Jordan Burrows, Harry Spears, can either of them just make a break? I'm not sure who's opening the driving for them, but if they can get some clean air and just start putting the laps in. But I don't think the rest of the guys are going to let them. I think the times are so close. I think if they don't trip over each other, this could be very interesting.
I think when you look at it from this perspective, Steve, Shermatinsky and Hendrickson, that they are within striking distance by a narrow margin. 34 points coming into this round, make that 35 now that Spears and Burrows have taken pole position, which earns them an additional championship point. John Munro and Ross McGregor, when they get it hooked up, they get it right, and they can be pretty much unstoppable. I've seen it with them. Obviously, at Spa-Francorchamps, we had the problem where they had the brakes issue. They were putting the brake balance as far forward as possible in order to help the Bentley get across the line, and had to give up second position. But, I think we could find ourselves with an absolutely fantastic scrap. Okay, 17 teams, that's 34 drivers, 17 cars about to roar around here at Monza. I still think, even with that kind of grid, we're going to have one hell of a show this evening.
Yeah, definitely. And let's not forget, you were just talking about John Munro there and Ross McGregor, but they've got used to that car now. I mean, they've raced with it all season here for the 6 rounds. They've done other events in it, so it's been a bit of a learning curve for them as well. But they're getting it dialed in, and that it was just on show this evening with qualifying. I mean, they had a really good qualifying session there, and almost got it on pole position or just to lose it in the dying seconds there. But they've really got that Bentley dialed in. But let's not forget the Luca Burke, Jack McIntyre, two quick boys there, just coming in for the last round to have a go. But they are quick, and they could cause an upset. They could take away some points from some of those guys that are battling for that for the podium places in the championship.
Well, okay. Well, you just mentioned the name Jack McIntyre, so I would remember that from the 12 Hours of Nürburgring Mine charity race. He was in that, and he's also one of the regulars in the Virtual Reality Racing Club, if memory serves me correctly.
Not only is one of the regulars, he's one of the top runners there. He's regularly putting the cars on pole, whatever class they're driving. He regularly wins. He's a quick lad. He's a lot of talent behind him. He's a very, very good driver, and he's very, very consistent. And when I've watched him, and I've watched him quite a lot, I've commentated on him quite a lot, there's not a lot phases him. If he's having a bad race, he can still turn it around. You can never ever write Jack McIntyre off. Whatever happens, he will battle, he will try. Luca Burke, his teammate, that is an awesome pairing. They are going to be quick over a race of this length, especially because they are they're just quality drivers, along with a lot of other lads on the grid. I mean, Haley and Walker, they haven't qualified right up at the sharp end this evening, but they've got that Porsche going quite well. And as we saw with Aaron on these laps, it looks so stable. Now, Porsches, from my experience, I've always found to get the best out of them that you drive them a little bit loose. They're always on the edge. Aaron looked to have that car planted. It looked absolutely awesome over the curbs. So, maybe, in consistency terms, they could be up there as well.
Well, they do say times are for show, points are to go. Don't forget you can head to pitwall.live/timing/light to follow the live timing. It will give you actually sector times, also a dedicated track map, and also will give you the elapsed and remaining time on the session. You can even look into who's on what stint, how long they've been in the car. So it's really a really good bit of intuitive kit that we're using here at Simsport Racing, the place to race. And Steve, firstly, I have to say one thing. A big thank you to everyone at Simsport, yourself included, for getting me on board with Simsport. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to do in 2021, buddy.
No, it's been our pleasure, mate. We've been working together since, was it March, April, wasn't it? We got together and started to stream the races with commentary and everything, and it's been an absolute pleasure to work with yourself and Mike, and I think Simsport's grown so much this year. Not just in numbers, we've had some pretty big grids for our regular championships, but just in the quality of what we do, the broadcast that the pictures Mike gives us for broadcasting, the commentary that you provide, with myself. I think it just all adds to the whole package.
Yeah, and we might have a few things to announce in the not too distant future about what you can expect from Simsport Racing. If you want to go to the website itself, it's simsport-racing.com, if I remember correctly, Steve. I keep on
correct.
Yep. So you can find out all about the GT3, the GT4 side of things. We've hosted the 12 hours of Nürburgring. We've also had the virtual 3 hours of Silverstone, working with the likes of Jensen Button. A big thank you to Jensen for his involvement within the 12 Hours of Mine charity race, where he actually was interviewed by my good friend in the virtual commentary box before the race got underway. A big thank you, Jensen. We really do appreciate your help. CHS Racing have just said, great setup here, guys. Good luck, everyone. Bentley for the win. Dave Jones, he's just mentioned, he said, awesome. I've just had an early Christmas present. Got my new gaming PC with ACC.
Fantastic.
Dave, you're more than welcome to come and join us in the community.
Jump in. Whether you're a seasoned gamer or a beginner, seasoned racer or a beginner, everyone is welcome, because the community is very, very helpful. And we will, you will get setups for cars, things like that, or if it's a hardware issue, tech issue, there's always somebody available to answer questions. So yeah, everybody's welcome. Jump in and join in and have fun. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing about the community. Even though I've officially been given the moniker as the voice of Simsport. Thank you, Steve.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure. It was you or me, and people can understand you a bit easier. So.
Well, don't put yourself down before we've even begun, my friend. But I mean, to be honest with you, to see the the depth of talent, the depth of the community growing here on Simsport Racing. It has been absolutely fantastic. I'd like to personally thank everyone behind the scenes, from all the admin, all the moderators, everyone that donates to help this community to grow how it has done. Obviously, my good friend at Simply Race, Mike Yao, our official broadcast director, he's done a fantastic job this season. As always, it's a pleasure to work on these broadcasts. I know that things might change a little bit for 2021. Am I right in thinking, Steve, reference what we've got coming?
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of things in the pipeline at the minute. There's the sign-ups aren't open yet for the regular GT3 and the regular GT4 races. They will be going ahead, but we've got a few things we're trying to plan behind the scenes that we're not quite ready to announce yet. But yes, we're a community that's always pushing forward and always wanting to bring new things, but we want to maintain a level of quality of what we do as well. So we don't tend to rush into doing things. But no, we've got lots planned, and it's going to be an exciting time in 2021, and hopefully a time of growth again, as 2020 has been for us.
Indeed it has. So one final hurrah. 17 it looks like we've got 18 cars showing up now in the practice server that we've got. So don't forget, head to pitwall.live and /timing/light. That is where you'll be able to you can log on using your Facebook account, or if you have a Gmail account or a Google account, you can do so there. Select Simsport Racing. And as you can see, obviously, we've had a bit of a logo change ahead of 2021, of course, with Simsport Solutions being a part of it. And this is where it's going to get interesting, and I'm really looking forward to it, Steve. It's going to be flat out. It's not going to be an endurance. It's going to be a flat out sprint for 2.5 hours, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, just to reference your 18 cars, it looks like Niall Fleet has signed in twice. So hopefully that's not going to cause a server problem. As we know, ACC can be a little bit temperamental on servers, but the boys will sort that out if it is. Hopefully it won't cause too much of a delay, but that is why at the moment we're showing 18 cars on the grid.
Yeah, so just a little bit of practice to get the drivers all ready. And we will hopefully be getting underway with our final 2.5 hour race to crown our final champions of the 2020 racing season. My goodness, has it really flown by, Steve?
Yeah, it has, mate. I mean, look at those two cars there on the track. Two very, very nice looking liveries there. The McLaren in the top left, absolutely awesome livery on there. And then the Porsche of Walker and Haley in the bottom right of your screen there. And that is the official Simply Race Porsche skin livery. Looking very awesome. And they've driven, the Simply Race boys have had a fantastic GT4 season. Steve Haley just narrowly missing out on the title. He won the previous season, but this season he just literally a few points off, wasn't he?
Indeed, because after official ratification, the results were as follows. That round 5 was eventually won by the lightning legend that is Mr. Kieran Vidago. He won ahead of new champions, so 3 different champions from 3 different seasons. So it was Karolis Sipovicius that took the driver's title, but by 21 points after official ratification, Simply Race secured the team's title in GT4 for a second successive season, ahead of 1001 Racing. Then we had Area Motorsport Investigation Team with Messrs Mitchell and Hedges, and HF Impala with Michael Haffinen and Tim Fulbrook rounding out the top 5. I do have to say, out of all the teams that really, really impressed me this season in GT4, Steve, I have to give a shout out to Gerard DeBar and Jeffrey Wolf from Simbro Sport to get 6th overall in the teams. After we didn't have that many teams for season 2, but season 3 we really, really saw the competitive edge of the drivers come out.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gerard Barr and Jeffrey Wolf won't mind me saying, they've been with Simsport now most of this year. I think, when we started the GT3 season back in March, when we started broadcasting, they were both on board with us then, I believe. And, their results have just got better and better. The consistency's got better and culminating with a great championship drive in the GT4s, for both of them. Some good results. And that's what it's all about. It's, it's practice makes perfect. Just keep turning up if the time times aren't quite there, when you first start. Don't be put off by some of those guys that are at the top end of the timing sheets, because they've spent hours, weeks, months, years doing this sort of thing, and you'll have a certain speed out of the box, but obviously there's always room for improvement, and that improvement comes through practice, through setting the cars up, things like that. So there's a lot of effort to go into it to get up to the sharp end where some of these boys are. But what I will say about the Simsport grids is there's always somebody to race, because it is a very mixed sort of talent on the grid.
Yeah, I have to give a shout out to two of our Simsport Racing community members. Mark Neusling saying, "Hey Alex, same livery we had at Bathurst." I said, well, I didn't see anything at Bathurst. We didn't broadcast Bathurst, so that's the first time I've seen the livery, Mark. But thank you anyway for pointing that out.
Alex, don't wind him up. But
I love winding Mark up. Well, as long as he doesn't have a cheese livery for 2021, we're fine. Less said about that, the better. A big thank you to Angus Martin. Hey Alex, hi Steve. Have fun commentating on this one. Last race of the year. Yes, mate, it should be a cracker. And no need to apologise, Mark, at all, mate. No need to apologise.
just for the other guys in the chat stream, obviously Mark and Angus are both racing this evening. Obviously they're going to go out as, I'm guessing, driver at number 2. They're not starting the race this evening. They'll be taking the second stints. So obviously they're going to be watching their teammates in here and communicating with us a little bit in the chat, which is just great to see, isn't it? It's the way YouTube's grown over the last few months as well, with all the regulars watching and the chit chat that we get as our producer is just showing you there the pit lane live timing screen, which is what we're currently looking at.
And it looks like Luca Burke's actually gone quickest in free practice with just over 2 minutes to go, 1:48.2. But it is about the consistency here at Monza, Steve. Even though they're going to be absolutely flying around this circuit, it's still going to be a tall order to make it keep it nice. Angus, why are you I'm driving and chatting. Sorry, that can wait, mate. If you're driver 1, you're a bit of a silly boy, because I don't want you stoving that car into the barriers, mate. Even though you won't have to pick up an invoice like most real-world drivers would do, and they go, well, it actually reminds me of something quite funny. Tom Coronel actually famously got fined for using the selfie camera on his mobile phone in his race car whilst driving back to the pits. FIA didn't look favourably on that one. So, Angus, drive and chat later, mate. Have a good one out there.
Yeah, just and again to any drivers that are watching on YouTube, when you're not behind the wheel of the car, if you want to come down to the Discord commentary box for a chat, you're more than welcome to, and we'll have a quick chat while the race is going on, if you like.
Exactly. The more the merrier, as they say. Looks like practice is going to be winding up for the final time this year, as we get ourselves ready to go green for one final time. As I said earlier, we've had the 20-minute qualifying. It's a 150-minute, that's 2.5 hour race, 3 mandatory pit stops, tyres required to be changed on all pit stops, and it will be down to the and Angus Martin has just said, yeah, such a naughty unfollow and follow boy. Yeah, he's done that to plenty of people, myself included, as it looks like we are awaiting for green here at Monza. Drivers cannot have any more time than 80 minutes behind the wheel. We did see drivers at the very first round, Steve, didn't we, that got disqualified. So now they should be at that point where they can eke out their strategies and make sure that neither driver does more than probably, say about 78 minutes at a push.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of drivers got caught out by that because they sort of counted the race time, but obviously there's race time, but you've got to finish the lap you're on once the clock's hit 0, and some of them literally went a minute or 30 seconds over, but it's over, so they got a penalty. So that's what you've got to allow for. It's all the little things, and that's why we put this championship together as a fun championship, so people could join in and learn before we launch something a little bit more serious, maybe.
Indeed. 2 minutes to go until we get the rolling start underway here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. So the track looks to be optimum. Blue skies up ahead, sunshine beating down on the 3.6 mile, 5.793 kilometre circuit here at Monza, with the first half an hour looking to have pretty much sunshine with a little bit of intermittent cloud. air temperature 16 degrees Celsius, track temperature 22 degrees, with no real breeze to speak about, so no headwind, no tailwind. And Steve, the tow's going to be quite useful early on in the first few laps of the race.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be about for the anybody is to try and break the toe of the car behind, or if you're that car behind, try and stay in the toe of the car in front, because it's crucial. Once you get out of the toe, then it's difficult sometimes to hang on to the car in front. But braking zone into turn 1 is going to be very interesting in the first couple of laps. And obviously the Variante, that's always interesting as well. We always breathe a sigh of relief after the first chicane and then hold our breath again as they head into the Variante. So it'll be interesting. Drivers of this calibre, I would like to think, will get through there nice and cleanly. You would like to think, but let's hope the adrenaline's not pumping too hard.
Okay, so the starting drivers for the final time are as follows. On pole position in the 185, it is Harry Spears. Then it is Ross McGregor in the 23, Simply Race Sancho Simsport car. Then Griffax Engineering will have William Hendrickson behind the wheel. Then Luca Burke in the 105 McLaren will go first, ahead of Marian Samal. Adam Isolovic will pilot the 111 Serbian Racing Tribe Mercedes, ahead of Stephen Haley. Then it will be Chris Pinchbeck in the number 43 Mercedes. Sebastian Totolanera in the 488 Ferrari will start and will have alongside him in the number 71 Ferrari, Ranjiv Kalsi. Stain Passport will start for Dan Busters Motorsport in the 617 as they now start to make their way on the official formation lap. Richard Pixley will start in the number 76 Lexus RCF GT3, which apparently it's just been announced for Global Motorsport that no factory support will be given any further to the RCF GT3 from now on, which was very much a case, I think, as a lot of motorsport has been affected by the global pandemic. But it will still be racing around Monza with pride here in the sunshine. Gerard de Bar will start in the Simbro Sport 119 McLaren, and then it will be Gianluca De Luca in the 135 McLaren. Just behind them will be Marcus Hagel in number 54, Niall Sleater in the number 38 Porsche. Rounding out the 17 strong grid will be in the 79 Lexus Evan Dafas. So server time just has gone 4 minutes past 1. And Steve, one of the biggest things with dry conditions, the track is going to evolve rather rapidly with the amount of rubber, even though we've got 17 cars on the grid in a very, very quick amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely, but the track temperature's not too high, so it should be okay. I mean, tyre wear shouldn't be an issue, really. They've got to change tyres with every mandatory pit stop anyway. So I think basically it's just going to be split into several small sprint races this evening. I think we're going to see people really, flying off on the green light, and really it's just going to be hammer down and race to the pits, as it were. Be interested to see what strategies they do. We know that Munro and McGregor tend to string theirs out a little bit in previous races. They always seem to do something a little bit different, so it'll be interesting to see what they do starting in P2 tonight. Just on the chat, Jean Pinchbeck, good evening, Jean, and she says, come on Pinchy, birthday boy, good luck to you both. Come on Regan. Just for everyone watching, Jean is Chris's mum, so Chris is looking to make mummy very, very proud this evening and bring that car home on the podium. Chris, no pressure.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. But as they now head their way through to the final sector here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, going to now be heading through the Ascari chicane, led by Team Fordzilla & Co.'s Harry Spears, Ross McGregor from Simply Race Sancho Simsport, William Hendrickson from Griffax Engineering, the 105 McLaren, and those fantastic Jensen Team Rocket RJN colours, which also have the world fastest Gamer 2 logo, as James Baldwin has been running in that car in British GT this season, with obviously Jensen himself taking part in the recent Silverstone 500.
Yeah, they're all going 2 by 2 now. This is where it counts. They're all jostling forward, getting into position, and they'll be getting ready because it's going to be one hell of a start, and they'll be bolting down to turn 1. And the front two, they'll be brave on the brakes, and the rest of the pack have just literally, they're going to have to drive with a little bit of caution to avoid any sort of pile-up. We have got the escape road, obviously, and the sensible drivers, if they outbrake themselves, will use that instead of trying to turn in. But let's just see what happens as we're about to get underway.
Red lights on the starting gantry for one final time here at Simsport Racing in 2020. The season finale of the GT3 Driver Swap Series here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. 2.5 hours on the clock, and it is down to Spears and McGregor to time the start to impeccable punctuality. We wait, we bide our time. Ladies and gentlemen, here in 2020, it is green, 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 and what a lightning start by Harry Spears. Caught Russ McGregor napping as Burke trying to go side by side as they head into the Variante chicane for the first time. It is 2 by 2, hurrah, for between the top 3 rows. And at the moment, McGregor holds on as Hendrickson. Oh, McGregor gets turned around and Samol has to avoid. Burke manages to capitalise. And it all got concertinaed rather quickly. And look behind, there's an absolute melee through the Variante chicane. And the biggest loser of everybody is Simply Race Sancho Simsport's Ross McGregor. My goodness.
Yeah, open mouthed far too soon, didn't I, before on the build-up there, saying I expected these lads to get through there. Obviously, something's gone awry. Somebody's braked a little bit too late into turn 1, or a bit of contact there, and it's just really shaken the field up. Qualifying was for 0 now, wasn't it, really, with that, as we've seen Spears heading off into the lead at the minute, but Luke Burke and Hendrickson giving chase. And is that Haley in 4th place in the Simply Race Porsche?
It is indeed, with Pinchbeck up to 5th. Kelsey, well, look at Denise Pope. She's absolutely profited like nobody's business. She started in the number 79 HRTC Wild Things Lexus. They're up from stone dead last to P7, as now Luca Burke is being hustled by Griffax Engineering's William Hendrickson. Is this the battle for 2nd position?
Indeed, yes, and he's really, really putting the pressure on, almost getting alongside Burke before they go into Parabolica, but that McLaren is just taking the defensive line. It's all about getting on the power now, because Hendrickson's going to pick up a slipstream. We know the Mercedes isn't slow in a straight line, so he's nice and close. It's all going to be about the slipstream and braking zone for turn 1.
There's Adam Isalovic. He's got, that is, who's that behind? That's one of the Porsches. That's Schleter, I think, because Burke goes defensive going into the Variante chicane. But on this particular occasion, Hendrickson takes a tighter line. Oh, he compromises himself through the second part of it, braking deeply. But look behind, you've got Haley, Pinchbeck and Kelsey squabbling over 4th position, coming out of the Variante chicane, heading into Curva Grande.
Yeah, and Luca Burke has just managed to defend that, but he's having to drive so defensively that Spears is heading off into the proverbial distance at the moment. As Burke is really having to defend against Hendrickson. Hendrickson pushing very hard, although he's a little bit scruffier through there, and that gives Burke a little bit of breathing space, albeit it's only maybe a 10th or 2, but it's a bit of breathing space all the same. But yes, Pinchbeck has got past Haley, and Pinchbeck is into 4th place. He's 2.8 seconds back from Hendrickson at the moment.
Yeah, as you can just see, Pinchbeck, Haley and Kelsey, 3 little piggies all in a row, going underneath the bridge, heading towards the Ascari chicane. And look at Denise Pope. She's trying to close them down. And Pope last time did a 2-minute 2.5. She's, 2.5 seconds off of Ranjiv Kelsey. So the biggest thing here, Steve, is that whilst that Pinchbeck, Haley and Kelsey are battling, this is going to allow the likes of Denise Pope and Marcus Hagel, who are now in 7th and 8th. As now we see Stijn Pasmont ahead of Niall Schleter. And it looks like Ross McGregor has got the fire clearly stoked in the belly and is going side by side towards the outside. Is he going to power past Schleter before the Parabolica? He does. Great move there.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got the bit between his teeth now, and he's really going to be hammering that Bentley down. He's got a lot of time to make up for whatever reason, whatever contact was made, and whatever the issue that caused him to lose all that time in turn one. But just looking at Haley there, he's struggling to hang on to Pinchbeck down the straight, but Kelsey having no issues at all hanging on to Steve Haley in the Porsche. But the Porsche closes up on the Mercedes in the braking zone, and Steve Haley is certainly applying pressure to Pinchbeck at the minute. But Pinchbeck is a seasoned driver. He knows how to soak up pressure. He's not new to this. At 47 years old, he's been doing it a few years.
Yeah, I'm just going to... the good thing with having multiple screens is that you can actually see what's going on, and I'm going to have a quick look at what happened.
As Haley's going for a pass, he's managed to just get through there a bit quicker, but he's having to tuck back in behind. He got to show his nose there and was nearly putting it up the inside. And again, he's really hustling Pinchbeck. He's really putting the pressure on there. The Porsche seems so much quicker through the turns than the Mercedes, but the Mercedes on the straight just seems to be able to pull away from the Porsche, and that's the story of Steve Haley's race this evening so far. He's just losing out on the straight line speed as we now go into a replay.
Right, okay, this is from the start. I've just had a look through this a couple of times. So they're running down to the Variante chicane. So Spears in the lead, McGregor is in second. Now just watch closely. There might have been an initial touch from the 81 of Hendrickson, and then he had absolutely nowhere to go. I wasn't too sure. And then Monroe gets clattered into, and then it causes all havoc and pandemonium behind. So it looks like there was 2 touches from Hendrickson on McGregor, and McGregor just decides, right, now I've got to drive angry. And I know that John Monroe will be calming him down as Stephen Haley pulls out of the slipstream of Chris Pinchbeck. So whether that is going to be investigated by our stewards post-race, that's going to be one that's going to be an interesting judgment call on that one, to be honest with you, because it's quite difficult to see from that angle.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've learned over the last few months not to make too many judgments on the commentary side of things, because often you get it wrong. As we're going back to another replay now, I think this is the start, and we're just looking at Monroe in front there.
Yeah,
we're turning in and just a little bit.
There was a touch. There was a touch.
Yep.
So, yeah, there was a touch. I thought there might have been, and that was on the right rear corner because we were on board the front balance of Hendrickson there. So that could have some kind of championship ramification.
Just look at Steve Haley in the Porsche here through the Ascari. Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2, how much more speed he can carry through these corners than that Mercedes. The Porsche, as I was saying during qualifying, it is planted. It's very, very tidy, but he's just losing out on the straight line. I mean, look, he's in the slipstream now, but he's not gaining any track time at all. He's not closing the gap. If anything, the Mercedes is pulling away from him. But now in the braking again, he'll close right up now. He's took a bit too much curb there, just got a little bit loose, but manages to gather it up. He's looking very well planted, is this Porsche, and he's right back on Pinchbeck's rear bumper again, but just can't do anything with it when they get onto the straights.
Right, we're going to another replay. We're actually back on board inside the cockpit here of William Hendrickson. Okay, the top 2 start to brake. Hendrickson tries to fire it up the inside, touches with McGregor left front to right rear, and then literally has an unfortunate T-bone as a result of that impact. And I've just noticed that Harry Spears has just put in the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 47.976. As Kelsey, side by side with Haley, the Ferrari pulls in front of the Porsche before the Variante chicane. The Ferrari on fire here.
It'd be interesting to see what happened, because Haley all of a sudden lost 8 tenths to Pinchbeck. So I'm wondering if he had an issue as they exited Parabolica or something like that, because he lost a load of time there, or whether it was going into the Parabolica. Maybe he was trying to outbrake Pinchy, because obviously we didn't see that bit. But something caused Steve Haley to lose 8 tenths, but not only that, it's caused him to lose 5th place to Kelsey. And I think the Porsche is going to struggle to get past these cars. Again, the Ferrari's not slow in a straight line. It's certainly quicker than the Porsche. So it'll be interesting to see how Steve deals with that, as we're now following Gerard Debay in 12th place, he's been passed by McGregor, but he's looking like he's taking up some pressure from Passpont and Samol.
Yeah, the Ranjiv Kelsey fan club has just emerged, courtesy of Kieran Vidago. Yeah, I mean, Gianluca De Luca in the 135 McLaren is in the pits. I think that might have been damage as a result of it. He's probably tried to go as far as he can, so whether Gianluca is actually getting that repaired. And I'm going to quote Kieran Vidago. As Ranj would say, it's a beautiful car, is that Ferrari?
Yeah, we have a lot of banter within the community. As we go into another replay, so I'll come back to the banter in a moment, as you see what happened with Steve, as he's really, that's through Ascari, really close on the back of Pinchy. And it has to be said that Ranjiv Kelsey's really close on the back of Steve and putting him under a lot of pressure as well.
Right, let's just keep an eye on this, because now Kelsey just sends it up the inside. They go through Parabolica, and there's a little touch there, but not enough to unsettle Steve Haley. I think it's just because he's been battling with Ranjiv Kelsey. That's why he's lost the 8 tenths. And now, look at the closing speed from the 488 GT3. And Ranj does not even need to stay in the toe of the Porsche. The Ferrari's got the legs on it.
Well, if we go back to the banter of the Simsport community, Ranjiv Kelsey is the factory Ferrari driver because he won't drive anything else. That is all he ever drives, so we all take the mickey out of him a little bit and say that he's the factory driver. We've tried to get him to try other cars. He has tried other cars, if you count doing one lap in another car as trying it.
I think that's basically once bitten, twice shy in the form of Ranjiv Kelsey, as there is Marion Small trying to go up the inside of Gerard de Bar, flashing the headlights, and there is Stain Passpont.
Yeah, that's the Jag. You know, it's gonna do well tonight. I mean, I'd like to see him move up a few more places, but he will have some straight line speeds. We just contact there. That's McGregor,
and that's Marcus Hagel. Hagel, he just went up the inside off. Yeah.
That looked a little bit, I'm going to make a judgment, but it looked almost a little bit late to be diving up the inside, but we'll see maybe after the race.
Right, 2 hours, 19 minutes and 12 seconds still remaining. We now go to, I love the matte green on this Dan Busters Motorsport Aston Martin. True vintage, sort of like, British Army green back from way back when on that car. But you can see it's been heavily scuffed up on the left-hand side through all the trials and tribulations, and Hagel is actually behind this. There's now Samal up the inside of the bar, so the Jaguar gets the legs on the McLaren.
Yeah, be interesting to see what the Jag does down here compared to the McLaren, and see what the straight line speed is like of the Jag. And again, the McLaren, it's in the slipstream, but is he closing up enough? He's certainly closing, but I don't think he's going to get alongside in the braking zone, not unless it's a late dive. But no, he's closed up, but nothing he could do to try and get past the Jag. So that just shows the potential of that Jag in a straight line. Although it's a little bit of a dated car, maybe not quite as quick around the corners, it's still got the horsepower and the oomph down the straights.
Well, considering the fact that Samal did a 1 minute 50.097, and Gerard de Bar did a 1 minute 50.964, so the Jaguar was over 8.5 tenths of a second. Obviously that's probably with slipstream assistance, as it looks like Stain Passpont has now pulled the Dan Busters Aston Martin into the pits, and so it looks like Gianluca De Luca has had a mandatory pit stop as well.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe the incident early on in the race in turn one's created a bit of damage for some of the guys, and they're going to maybe throw the strategies in the air a little bit and just do one of their pit stops early to repair the damage, and they will change tyres and it counts as one of the pit stops, so they'll have to do one less later on in the race maybe.
Well, Yannick Muller says, I'd say that Ferrari needs 300 kilos. Maybe you want to times that by 10, Yannick, and see how it fares?
I think whatever car Yannick drives needs 300 kilos. Doesn't matter whether it's a Ferrari or a Porsche. If Yannick's driving it, we need to put ballast on it, because he's a pretty quick boy as well.
Oh, there was a bit of a... Yeah, so it looked like there was a back marker in the way, and that would have been De Luca, because he's a couple of laps down, so Samal has lost a position to Gerard de Bar, so Small back in 12th place now behind the 119.
He's going to do him. I'm going to make a prediction though, Alex. Sorry to interrupt. I think that Jag's going to have the speed, as we see he closed up on in the slipstream, and he's alongside, and he's going to get this move done as they enter into the braking zone.
Well, literally as it happened, and I could see that coming a mile off as they came out of the Parabolica. So I think I was mentally making that prediction whilst you were actively saying it. As Ross McGregor now closing on Denise Pope through Curva Grande, so they're now going to head to the Rezzofilio chicane. This is the highest I think I've seen the number 79 up the order, and Adam Isolovic. So Denise Pope decides to let Ross McGregor go, but then actually has an opportunity of shutting the door on Adam Isolovic, who now tries to send it up the inside of the Lexus. So Denise Pope loses a couple of positions, but she's still in the top 10 at the moment. A great drive from her so far.
Yeah, and that's showing great maturity as a race driver as well. You know, Ross McGregor is a lot quicker, and sometimes you've just got to know that maybe this isn't your battle, and you're going to lose more time by trying to battle someone like Ross when he's maybe in different pace to you. So she didn't really put up too much of a defence there, but unfortunately that did give an opportunity to Adam, and Adam didn't need asking twice, did he? He just he took that opportunity and moved up a place.
I'm going to do some banter with some of the people in the chat. Yannick Muller has just said, needs a cushion on the front bump. Oh, now that was a run wide and a half there by Marion Simol coming out of the Ascari chicane, and Gerard de Bar now comes alongside. Marcus Hagel not too far back in the distance between these two. Well, about 2.6 seconds, but if he can try and catch up in that Porsche, that might be a bit of a tall order. But Yannick Muller says, needs a cushion on the front bumper when I'm driving it. That means, Yannick, you need to use your brakes more. We've also had a message from Stain from Dam Busters. He said that early pit stop is part of our YOLO strat. Okay, so you win. Yeah, you only live once strategy. Last race of the season, nothing to lose. Let's have some fun. Spoken like a true sim racer there, Stain Passport from Dam Busters. So yeah, they're going to have an interesting, and it looks like Angus Martin is now behind the wheel of the 617. Aston Martin is Niall Schleter, and the 38 has now pitted.
Yeah, I mean, joking apart, sometimes if you're stuck in traffic and things like that, as we've seen, Steve Haley has got past Kelsey and he's back on the back end of Pinchbeck again, applying all that pressure again. But just going back to the strategy, the pit stop strategy, sometimes, if you are stuck in traffic or you have picked up some early damage, it is best to get in there, get it fixed. As we've seen Denise Pope, who's still defending hard and battling hard, it has to be said, and driving really well this evening. You get that pit stop out of the way, but also it can sometimes put you out into clear air where you can actually just hot lap and put your best laps in, and then when all the pit stops shake out, you can find yourself jumping up 2 or 3 places in the order.
Yes, indeed. So Denise Pope running as high as 7th position in this race after the turn 1, the Variante Malay, as I'm now going to nickname it, that corner for future. And Aaron Walker has just said, yeah, we picked up quite a bit of damage at T1, so everyone's running with a few war wounds, let's say, and some drivers will opt to go in. And he said, oh, front and rear of the Porsche. Oh, so from all sides then, Mr. Walker, was Mr. Haley assaulted.
The Porsche sandwich, or the Porsche was the filling in the sandwich. But yeah, I mean, the damage around here as well, it can hurt you as well, because obviously it's all about power down the straight. The aero, it does affect you, obviously, through the faster corners as well. So, that may be why we're seeing Steve struggling a little bit to get past Chris. Although, he's putting plenty of pressure on Chris, and as we've seen in so many races, Chris Pinchbeck can be consistent. He just drives his line, and we've seen him quite often soaking up pressure from behind, and it doesn't faze him. He will just drive his line and stick the laps in and keep the position. So
we're on lap number 10 here in the GT3 Driver Swap Series finale here, the final race of 2020 for us here at Simsport Racing, and he's got a 2.1, so Harry Spears leads it by 2.1 seconds ahead of Luca Burke at the moment. William Hendrickson from Griffax Engineering in 3rd. Chris Pinchbeck from Apex Motorsport in 4th, ahead of the ever looking forward Stephen Haley from Simply Race, as Gerard de Bar looking to go side by side with Denise Pope, but Denise Pope trying to do her level best as they're now going to head through into Ascari. Gerard de Bar, don't try and put it round the outside. Oh, he did. He went for it. Will he get the job done as Pope runs over the curves and the left rear wheel goes skyward? That was close.
I thought for one horrible moment then when Denise hit the curbs in the second part of the corner, she was going to bounce across, but luckily Gerard de Bar was far enough in front that any slight movement from Denise didn't matter too much. But great driving from both of them to actually be able to hold it side by side through there. That is not the easiest thing to do in the world. Great respect, but great move Gerard de Bar, but like I say, great driving from Denise Pope as well.
Chapeau, as they say in France. Denise Pope with one of the saves. That could have been uglier if things had gone absolutely wrong for the number 79 Lexus. Aaron's just given a big shout out saying, I'd like to thank my two favourite ladies for tuning in again tonight. Lily and Amy, you are the best. Who wrote that one, Aaron? We normally know that when Aaron's driving, it's normally Amy behind the keyboard. So don't worry, mate. That secret's been out for months now, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'll be Aaron. He's tuned in and he's chatting away. John Munro gutted about lap 1, big time loss and big damage. So yeah, unlucky, mate. But as I've said before, you guys heads down. Keep going and see where it all shakes out. Don't count anybody out. It's a long race, 2 hours and 10 minutes still to go. Plenty of pit stops still to come. So plenty of positions to be made up, no doubt. Yeah,
but Ross McGregor has got that fire in the belly. As Aaron responds by saying, that sucked, John. You guys will finish well. Well, if Ross has already gotten up to 8th position and he's 8.6 tenths behind Sebastian Totolonera in the 488 Ferrari, and I'm looking at the lap times, McGregor put in a 1:48.8, Totolonera a 1:49.9 and a 1:49.2. So McGregor probably in the next, if he keeps sort of maybe say 3 tenths up on Totolonera, he is going to get that gap down, I think, within the next 3 to 4 laps and make the move for 7th position. We'll make that now 0.9 of a second. So 3 to 4 laps, if Ross can keep on the, if he can actually keep up the pace in that Bentley, he'll have an opportunity of getting into the top 7.
Yeah, absolutely. But just let's not forget that the higher up that John starts to go, and Ross, the higher up Ross starts to go, the times start to get closer and closer, as in the average lap times of the drivers. So it will start to get a little bit trickier for him to make up those places. Having said that, we saw in qualifying that Bentley has got the pace. We know that Ross has got the pace. We know that when it comes to the pit stop and they swap, John certainly got the pace in the Bentley. So yeah, like Aaron said, I'm sure they will finish well and they'll make up positions, as we're just seeing Ross challenging now for that 7th place.
Indeed. So, Kelsey's off. Kelsey's off. That's changed everything now, because look how close the Tolonera and McGregor are now, as Isalovic runs wide in front of Samol coming through the second of the Lesmos, and McGregor looking up the inside of the Tolonera, trying to go down underneath the bridge into the Ascari chicane. And it looks like Samola's got past Isalovic going into Ascari. So as Isalovic ran wide, the Jaguar pounced when it needed to and got the claws out.
Yeah, absolutely. You just love that pun, don't you?
I know.
It's
it is a big cat after all, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's nearly extinct, isn't it? There's only one out there. Shall we get them all in?
Why not? It all started with Chris Buxton a few weeks ago when he said, "Look, wild and lonely Jaguar appears." McGregor
is pitting now. So is this just for a straight tyre swap and some repairs, or is it going to be a driver swap as well?
They're going to repair the 15 seconds of damage, according to John Munro. He said it's a long race, so we'll see what we can do. Gutted because race pace is much stronger than previous rounds, so they have learnt. They've gotten on well with the Bentley is all. Now there's been another car. Now was that to Tolonera pointing the wrong way down the Variante chicane? Because there was one car there.
It certainly looked like a Ferrari, didn't it? Yeah, there he is. Yeah, he's dropped well down now into 9th place, and he'll be looking to come back from that now. That's the thing about the endurance races, though. I mean, we're not that far into it. We're sort of 24 minutes into it, but people start to make mistakes. I wouldn't expect the mistakes to be coming at this early stage, but there's plenty of time to recover from the mistakes at this early stage.
Mm-hmm. I think Adam Isalovic better watch himself, because obviously we do know that when they do have track cuts, how many times is it, Steve, before ACC throws a penalty somebody's way? Is
on the fourth one. So you get 3 warnings, and then on the fourth one you will get a drive-through.
So we can now see the lead battle at the moment. Harry Spears from Team Ford Ziller & Co. Battling away with Luca Burke, and the gap has come down. It was about 2.5 seconds at one point. It's now just over 1.3. Is now they head into the Variante chicane, and then there is the now rejoining. Well, it's got Ross McGregor showing behind the wheel, but then you've got William Hendrickson. Stephen Haley's now pitted in the Porsche.
Yeah, absolutely. So that shows that the front guys have put a lap on McGregor now, so he'll know just how he'll be seeing that, and he'll know how much work he's got to do to try and get back up to podium positions at the moment. So hopefully not too disheartening for those guys, because I know they'll keep the head down and keep going. And it'll be interesting to see if they can put Hendrickson can put a lap on McGregor or Munro, depending who it is, because we know sometimes it is a bit slow to update on ACC behind who's the driver, because the pace is going to be very similar, isn't it?
Yeah, okay, so we're going to go to replay now, and this is Sebastian Totolanera. He's closing on Ranjiv Kelsey, heading into the Variante chicane, gets on the brakes, okay, turns in, tries to power out, and the back end, is that going to step out? It does, the right-hand side, and it throws him 180 degrees. And he rolls back, hits the brakes, and manages to do a safe rejoin. Just had a message from Niall Schleter from Phantom Sim Racing. He said, good luck, guys, our race is over, and then adds with the 2 words, sad panda. Oh, that's a shame. It's a real shame, Niall.
Yeah, absolutely. It was looking pretty good, to be fair, but yeah, it's always a shame when anybody has to retire, because all the guys put so much practice in. So yeah, unlucky, buddy.
So we carry on with we're about 4.5 minutes away from hitting the first half an hour completed. So still 16 out of the 17 runners and riders. Oh, and they've had an issue. Right, okay. Just going to have a look here. Now, this is when Isalovic ran wide, and Simol flashing the headlights, as we've seen. And just literally, the Jaguar just powers past that Mercedes like it was absolutely nothing. Great job by Marion Simol there in the Jaguar, the number 37, which is currently up into 6th place. Niall Schleter's just explained the problem that Matt Densham tried to join, and then when they were pitting, the game crashed on them. So it's an instant disconnect, a real shame for them. And it looks like the brake marker boards here at Monza have been somewhat assaulted, haven't they?
It looks like they've been aiming for them. I mean, to be fair, when you're following someone through through Lesmos, especially those sort of corners, the high speed stuff, if you're really close up behind you, it's very easy to get unsighted, and quite often that's when the cars will just run a little bit wide and they take out those polystyrene marker boards, as it were. And yeah, but it looks like they've been decimated this evening, and hopefully the drivers aren't relying on them for the braking points. Hopefully they've got other visual points that they use.
Yeah, so I'm just going to keep an eye on the stint time. So it looks like, well, Ross McGregor was only in the car for 22 minutes and 10 seconds in the first stint. But it looks like he's in that car again. So whether he's going to do the bulk of the initial work, as it looks like that Bentley, well, he's just put in a 1 minute 48.090, so not too far off the pace. And at the minute, if memory serves me correctly, the fastest lap so far is not by the leaders. And that is by Luca Burke. He's done a 147.982. So it looks like Griphax Motorsport have their work cut out. And to have a 5.1 second gap between themselves and first place on lap number 16, they've got to really put the hammer down now.
Yeah, Luca Burke he's been gaining a tenth or so every lap, and he's got that gap closed down now, and he's just below a second behind. Obviously, we can see that he's right there now. It's really going to start coming to a battle on track, and that might slow them up if Spears has to start defending, and that might bring Hendrickson back into it. But as I was saying, McGregor has got the pace of these lead cars, so that early incident, it's even more of a shame because, you know, Hendrickson hasn't been able to catch him to put a lap on him, and Burke isn't losing McGregor.
Well, the thing is that John Monroe's just admitted, the downside is that the fuel load is very heavy for this stint. So what they're going to use is they're sort of like their Joker card here. They've probably filled that to nigh on capacity, that Bentley, because we know that the Bentley can go very, very long, which means that if they do have to take a second stop and they time the mileage right, they'll only have to put tyres in and then get their next stop going and then put enough fuel to get them to the end, depending on what the strategy call is here at Simply Race Sancho Simsport. So it's about how Ross now, he's just put in the fastest lap of 1:47.811. That Bentley is flying at the moment. He's just put in the best Sector 2 out of anybody, a 37.6. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. He's really trying to make up for that early incident, and he's certainly he's putting on a good show. His battle on track really is Walker, who's I think you're about 8 or 9 seconds up the road from him. 8.7 seconds up the road, so that's not going to come into play for quite some time because I believe Walker is lapping, sort of just over half a second slower on the last lap, but he's still, you know, doing reasonable lap time, so I don't think McGregor's going to catch Walker on track unless there's a mistake, but certainly he's putting in the times and he's certainly got the pace. Hopefully he won't catch if these two up front start battling. Hopefully McGregor doesn't catch up to them, because, you know, when you're trying to unlap yourself, especially behind two cars that are battling, it's very, very difficult, and that could also cost McGregor time as well.
Okay, the gap between Harry Spears and Luca Burke now just under 0.8 of a second, as Burke absolutely pushing that McLaren 720S GT3 like crazy. Adam Misalovic in the 111 now in the pits and drops out of the top 10. As we're now into, we've gone over half an hour here, but Luca Burke looks to be getting ever closer to Harry Spears.
Do we want to have a chat with Steve Haley? He's in the commentary booth at the moment, so we could go down there and have a quick chat with Steve, if you like, Alex.
If you want to go ahead, I shall leave it in your capable hands, Mr. Proud.
Will do, my friend, no problem.
Good evening, Steve.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty good, buddy. Turn one.
Yeah.
What can you tell me? We've seen a few replays. We know what caused the initial incident. We saw the contact with Hendrickson, I think it was, and McGregor. But how did that affect you, buddy? If at all? I know Aaron put in the chat that you'd picked up some damage.
Yep, I'm going into T1. I think I was going into it kind of nice and easy, just to make sure that we didn't get caught up in anything in front. Unfortunately, things caught up with us from behind, so we got slammed into from behind, which kind of put us into Adam, unfortunately, which took him round. Which left us with about 8-9 seconds worth of damage. So we were down on top speed. I think looking at Aaron's pace now, we're back in the mid 58s, which is pretty good for the Porsche, I think. We were battling quite hard with Pinchy for the first part of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was saying on the commentary that obviously it just looked like you were struggling on the straight line speed with the Porsche, but there didn't look to be too much wrong through the corners compared to the Mercedes at Pinchbeck. You were really making up the time on the brakes and through the twisty stuff, but then on the straights in the slipstream, you were struggling even in the slipstream to hang on to the back of him.
Massively, yeah. I think, yeah, without the damage, I think we may have been able to keep up with them a bit better on the straights, and maybe taking a dive down the inside of the corners. Yeah, we were able to brake a lot later than Chris, which is nice into T1. But you can never tell what somebody's going to do when you go down the inside.
No, we know. Chris is he's been sim racing for a long time, and he's a wily driver. He can soak up the pressure, and he'll drive his lines. So like you say, you've got to be careful what you do, because you don't want to cause another incident. So when you pass a driver like Chris, you've got to be assertive, and you've got to know you're going to make the pass, haven't you?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've been racing with Chris, as you know, for a few years now, so I kind of know. I know his driving style. I know that he can be aggressive on the defence, but obviously, I mean, you've got to put your car in a spot, because if he's not going to want to take himself out, not in this race where he could be in for a top 5 finish.
At the moment, though, just quickly before you go, though, we've got McGregor, who had that incident early on. He's put in the fastest lap of the race with a pretty full tank of fuel. John Monroe told us in the chat he's running very heavy with fuel at the moment. But he's your battle on track. He came out of the pits around about 8 seconds behind Aaron. That gap's now down to 6, so he's closing up. So that's your battle. I think he's going to be to keep McGregor and Monroe behind you. And any plans for that, or is it are you just driving it hammer down at the moment?
I think we're just we've got pedal to the metal. I think if Ross catches us, which he probably will do, probably during my stint next, I think. But if he does, he's going to be that much faster than us. There's no point in kind of battling with him and slowing us all down. I think our race is now to try and make that 8 seconds up and catch Pinchy and Regan, and hopefully try and get. I think it'll be 6th position then if McGregor gets us. But yeah, I mean that would be nice. But we'll have to see how it goes.
All right, Steve. Well, thanks for coming down for a chat, buddy. And if you want to come down towards the end of the race after your next stint and let us know how it's gone on, please do so. You're more than welcome, and good luck for the rest of the race.
For sure, no worries. I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, Steve. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Well, Alex, I thought we'd come back because I was just watching the feed there, and it's great to talk to Mr. Haley, but it's looking exciting on the track at the moment for that 1st and 2nd place.
It is indeed, as Luca Burke has closed the gap to Harry Spears to around about 0.3 of a second. And Ranjiv Kelsey has now pitted, and that is effectively on lap number 20. You can see just how hard these two are pushing. Ross McGregor in the backdrop there, still currently sitting in 11th, but he's got that gap down. It was 6.2. It's now 5.9 seconds between him and Aaron Walker. But we're now coming into that decisive factor that can really, really change a race here, Steve. And we've seen that before in GT3 Driver Swap. That is backmarker traffic.
Yeah, I mean, we've got, as we've said earlier on in the build-up, we've got a slightly smaller grid, but we have already seen somebody holding one car up and causing a loss of position, which is never good to see. But yeah, they're going to come up against some traffic, and it's going to be about where they come up against that traffic, how aware that traffic is of them, and basically how easily they can get past. And it can work both ways. It can give Burke an opportunity to close up right onto the back of Spears, or even let him get past. Or if Spears gets past at the right time and Burke doesn't, it can help him to create a bit of a gap.
Well, Angus Martin has that's Kelsey. Kelsey rejoined, coming out of the pits and got in the way of the two leaders, and that has compromised Harry Spears. Luca Burke right in the slipstream, heading through Curva Grande. It's less than half a car length between them. They're now going to head down towards the Rettifilio chicane. That was very aggressive from Burke, though, as well, wasn't it? I mean, he's just pushed Kelsey out of the way from what I could see. It'd be interesting to see a replay of that if we can. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, Ranjiv was effectively being lapped, so to speak, because everyone at the moment has, up until actually Ross McGregor, have currently been lapped to Tolinera in the 488. They went spinning 180 degrees at the Variante chicane a bit earlier on. Right, it was Reese Wiggin that was actually in the car, so they'd done a driver swap, so I thought my apologies there. Thank you very much, John Monroe, for pointing that out to us. But Luca Burke absolutely on a mission to try and get one up on Harry Spears, but this will not impact the championship, the fight for the championship. It's going to make it closer though, Steve.
It will. You know, the position I'm watching this from now, though, is, as I said earlier, it's McGregor, because he's caught up to them, and we know that he's quicker than both these guys in front of them. As Burt runs wide there, so is that going to give McGregor a chance to unlap himself as they exit the parabolica? It is. But let's just see a replay now of Wiggin coming down to T1, and he just...
Yeah, just keep an eye, wallop.
Yeah.
And again, and look, the thing that and I'm going to explain myself here, that the pit wall live have not actually caught up with the fact that Rhys Wiggin was behind the wheel of the car. It's still saying Ranjiv Kelsey at that particular moment, and it's only just changed. So my apologies there, Ranjiv, and also Rhys. Thought I'd get that out of the way. It does happen.
Yeah, I'm going to reserve judgment on that. I mean, I've got several opinions on what was wrong and right there. And to be fair, I think I was a bit harsh to say that Burt pushed his way through. I think, he was compromised a bit on that, and it shouldn't have been an incident in the first place. But
yeah. Well, I'm now going to head down to do my first interview, and it looks like I'm going to be speaking to John Monroe, Steve. So I will be back with you in a moment, mate.
Have fun.
So, our second interview of the evening, big thank you to John Monroe from Simply Race Sancho Simsport. You guys are a bit on the back foot at the moment, John. Obviously, with that turn 1 melee on the very first lap, it put Ross right to the nigh on the back part of the field. But you guys have been coming on strong. But you said that your fuel strategy, you guys have put more than enough fuel in that Bentley to keep it going for quite a few laps.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just basically a big change of strategy due to the swap in the first lap. We're a bit gutted because I think race pace wise we were looking so strong this week. Ross has been doing like 47.2s on race fuel, and pole position with a high 46. So I think it's gutting because we really did think we'd be at the top in terms of pace, and I think now Ross has got the fastest lap of the race despite being on about 95 litres of fuel. So I think we're gutted about that, but hopefully there's still 2 hours to go. So he's going to keep the pedal down. We've fixed the damage, so we should be back up to pace now, and it's just a case of clawing back time. Sadly, it was 15 seconds of damage we lost, and also we lost about 20 seconds in the melee because we couldn't get going for about 20 seconds after the incident. So in total we're maybe a minute back, but I know Ross is arguably half a second a lap quicker than the leaders. So if he can keep chipping away at this, then we'll maybe be within a shout, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, just for your information, John, Ross is actually 3/10 off of Harry Spears, even with the full tank of gas in that Bentley. He's definitely eastbound down in that Bentley at the moment, but still to show that pace in there at the moment, that's quite a good sign, because there's still, we've got just under an hour and 50 minutes still to go. There's still an opportunity for you guys to make positions up. Obviously, it's sort of hampered the championship in some respects, because obviously, the thing is that it looks like you're probably going to take third place in the standings anyway. But to be on level peggings, hopefully with Hendrickson and Shervatinsky at Griffax, that would have been the goal to possibly get the runner-up status in the championship.
The championship was always a long run, because I think the 2 guys ahead of us, those 2 Mercs have also been right at the top in terms of pace every week. So we knew that it's likely that the top 3 in the championship could be the top 3 in the race today. But it's a bit bittersweet, because obviously Ross's pace is phenomenal, but we just know that if we'd stayed out of trouble, this would have been by far and away our best shot at having a win. So it's the championship's obviously one thing, and I don't think we ever could have really won that unless our rivals had big problems. But sadly, we're the ones that have had problems. So it's a bit gutting, because we were really hoping to go for the win today. I don't think it's possible now, but as you say, we'll just keep chipping away, and you never know. And you can see it now. Ross, even on, as I say, 90 litres of fuel, has actually closed the gap up on the leaders quite considerably. So you never know, but I think the gap's maybe just a bit big, but we'll give it our all.
And obviously, one final thing, we did discuss about brakes at Spa-Francorchamps for round 2. That was a very, very difficult race for you guys. You were hanging on to second position, and you guys have really gelled with this Bentley, as both myself and Steve have been saying during the broadcast. With that sort of learning curve, that's really helped you guys a little bit in terms of the pace, hasn't it?
I think so. We've got quite a lot of experience with the Bentley anyway, but we're definitely getting to the limits of it now. I think even in qualifying, it's normally about half a second off the pace compared to the likes of the Mercs around here. So we were right on the front row. and we've just been getting as much as we can out of it. And if you look at the season so far, Suzuka, we had the issue with the pit stop, which has set us back. But since then, we've been on the podium each time, and today I think we were looking really good for a win potentially, and we still could end up on the podium. So yeah, there's been a lot of progression throughout, which has been good, and it's been enjoyable to just try and take the fight to the Mercs, because they're so quick in a straight line. It makes it tough to race them, but I think we're doing a good job.
Well, all the very best of luck for the remainder of the race from Simply Race Sancho Simsport. Thank you very much, John Monroe.
Cheers, Alex. Cheers. Enjoy the race.
As I say that, I don't know whether Steve was banging into something, and I just had Angus Martin ask me whether I'm an American or not. Tank of gas, Alex. I didn't know you played baseball and ate deep fried hot dogs. Unfortunately not, mate. Sorry. I'm going to have to disappoint you there, Mr. Martin.
Well, he doesn't play baseball, but he may eat deep fried hot dogs, mate.
I don't. No, I can't have anything deep fried at the moment with my diet at the minute, even though we're just like literally a week before Christmas anyway, or nigh on a week from Christmas. But quite interesting what John had to say. Really, really gutted. There was a possibility that they could have been on the pace with Hendrickson and Shermatinsky. Hendrickson currently in P3, but obviously things have changed a little bit. We've seen the likes of Samol, who's now handed over to Johan Pedersen in the 37 Jaguar. Spears is still leading, so it looks like the 185 Team Ford Ziller and Co pairing of Spears and Burrows are doing a very long first stint at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's interesting to see we've got Pinchbeck still in that fourth place. Walker, it's all sort of shaking out now with the pit stops. Everyone getting the first one out of the way. He's now sort of just under 5 seconds behind Pinchbeck. We've got Peterson in 6th place, and that McGregor is in 7th. So 7th overall that's a real-time look in there. That's everybody done the same amount of pit stops. So that is in reality where McGregor is currently in 7th place, but he's only just behind 6th place and looking to make a move, as we're watching McIntyre here now with Hendrickson behind trying to put a pass on him.
Yeah, and I just noticed that Ross McGregor just put in a 1 minute 47.745 on that last lap, and he's just under 2/10 off of Johan Pedersen. This is a great battle. Hendrickson still staying behind the wheel of the Mercedes, so Jack McIntyre has taken over from Luca Burke in the 105 McLaren as now they go into the chicane. That's the Ascari chicane. I'll have the rundown. No, that's the Retifilia. My apologies there, as they're now going to go through into the two Lesmos, and you can see how hard Hendrickson's pushing. And if he pushed any harder, that 50-meter marker would actually end up, I think, probably as demolished as the 100 one there.
Doesn't get much closer than that though. Behind McIntyre, really got a good exit through the second Lesmo there, and he's really, really up close behind. But I don't think he's in the slipstream. But I don't think he's gonna. Is he? He is. He's forced it up the inside there. That was a brave move and a good move. Great driving from both of them, but fantastic move from Hendrickson there. Really good. It's just whether he can defend that position now when they come out of the parabolic and onto the start-finish straight.
A little bit of a wiggle there from the back end of the McLaren in the hands of McIntyre as Harry Spears pits from the lead as Richard Pixley and the number 54, that's got Roberto Santoro, who's taken over from Marcus Hagel, and now the Porsche is trying to go round towards the outside heading into Curva Grande here. That's going to be rather nip and tuck, but that's going to give Santoro, if he keeps it where it is, the inside run for the Rettifilio chicane. And he's going to do the Danny Rick send it up the inside as he does. And a tag from Pixley on the right rear corner of Santoro, who absolutely nailed that move. Oh, that was a bit too close for comfort, and Pixley doing the gentlemanly thing and letting Roberto Santoro by. And I think he knew it was that moment he knew he'd had a bit of a blunder there, Steve.
Yeah, a little bit, aggressive defending. It's okay. Sometimes you can get through there 2x2, but it's a little bit tight. And defending it on that inside there, it's very, very difficult to get the power down on the exit of the second part of that chicane. So, sometimes it's better just to concede the position and then regroup for another attack. Nice to see. Pixley did the gentlemanly thing and waited and let him take the position and let battle commence again, as we are seeing now that Hendrickson is just starting to eke away from McIntyre now in third place.
So we've had nearly 48 minutes of this race elapse, and it looks like Hendrickson is going in for the long haul. It looks like McGregor is also doing the same. Charlie Fraser is cheering on John Munro and Ross McGregor as Pixley and Santoro at it again, whereas Pixley's up the inside going down the main straightaway heading into the Variante chicane, and the Lexus has just edged ahead onto the inside line. He'll get the braking done now, turns in. Santoro keeps it in nice and tightly and got very up close and personal to the back bumper of the lost Lexus Racing number 76, but nice and neatly done by the pair there going through Curva Grande. We're on to lap number 27, and Jordan Burrows from Team Fordzilla & Co. has now taken over the 185 Mercedes-AMG GT3 from Harry Spears.
Yeah, just worth a mention, as Steve Haley mentioned in his interview, that the damage was causing them issues with straight line speed. Well, there's certainly no issue now as Aaron Walker has closed the gap up. I've been watching it over the last 3 or 4 laps, but basically Walker is lapping over half a second faster than Pinchbeck, and he's got the gap down now to 2.5 seconds from what was around about 5 seconds. So he's really closing in on that 4th place, and we're going to see that Porsche up behind the Mercedes very, very soon again.
Yeah, so the gap between first and second position, just under 7.5 seconds, as Pixley now starts to stretch away from Roberto Santoro, and at the moment, with 1 hour, 40 minutes and 37 seconds still to go here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, the running order is as follows. Jordan Burrows in the 185 Mercedes leads, ahead of the 81 Mercedes of William Hendrickson. Jack McIntyre in the 105 McLaren in third, ahead of birthday boy Christopher Pinchbeck in the number 43 Mercedes. Aaron Walker in the number 24 Porsche is fifth, ahead of Johan Pedersen in the Jaguar. In the number 37, Reese Wiggin in the number 71 Ferrari is ahead of Ross McGregor in the number 23 Bentley by just under 9/10 of a second. And looks like the number 79 Lexus is on the resurgence, courtesy of Evan Dafas having taken over from Denise Pope. Currently 9th at the moment, ahead of the 111 Mercedes of Mark Neuslings. We've got Martin Zergala in the 488, Jeffrey Wolf in the 119 McLaren, ahead of Richard Pixley in the 76 Lexus. Roberto Santoro, Gianluca De Luca, and bringing up the rear is the Dam Busters Motorsport crew with Stin Paspon in the 617 Aston Martin down in 16th position. And we now have Reese Wiggin being closed in on, hand over fist by Ross McGregor, and McGregor was 1.6 seconds quicker on that last lap. He's looking up the inside. Oh, turn around for Wiggin. Going through the parabolica, Ross McGregor looked for the gap, and it was not really there because Wiggin was already turning into the first part of it.
Yeah, it was difficult, wasn't it? From that angle, it looked like Wiggin had left the door open a little bit, but it's unfortunate. Maybe it'll get looked at afterwards, depends if it's protested or not, but yeah, it's really unfortunate because McGregor's making great pace, and maybe, he didn't quite need to try and force the issue so much there. Maybe, he could have just followed close through the parabolica, because I do believe the Bentley would have had the guts, as it were, down the straight, and he would have got past the Porsche anyway. But easy to say from the commentary box.
Easier said than done as well, I might add there too. Let's have a look at the replay. We've got one coming now. We're on board with Ross McGregor. Okay. Up the inside, he makes the move up the inside. Reese Wiggin comes across. Oh, that gap was closing.
And the attacking car didn't have any portion of his car up alongside, so Reese Wiggin wasn't really defending there. He was just taking his racing line, and it just looked like Ross got a little bit deep in there and went for a gap that, like you say, it was closing. But it's a race. Incidents happen, and we'll put that one behind us, and maybe the stewards will be looking at it after the race. But for now, Ross is up to 7th, and he's 12 seconds behind 6th place. So he's got a bit of work to do now.
Yeah, the driver in 6th position is the number 37 Jaguar of Johan Pedersen, who is 5.4 seconds behind the number 24 Porsche of Simply Race's Aaron Walker. There's Jeffrey Wolf. He's now got his turn behind the wheel of the Simsport McLaren, and he's closing in on the number 488 of Blue Flag Racing's Martin de Gala, who's now taken the second stint behind the wheel of that Ferrari 488 GT3 from Sebastian Totolonera.
I tell you what, Alex, it's maybe one of the smallest grids we've had for a long, long time on Simsport, but it's certainly got lots of battles, hasn't it? Lots of little pockets of racing. Some guys have been running close together for the whole race. Again, Walker, he's under 2 seconds behind Pinchbeck now, so that's going to be a battle to watch very, very soon. But there's been one or two tasty little battles right throughout the field, hasn't there?
Well, just keep your eyes on William Hendrickson. He's actually running close to 4/10 quicker a lap than Jordan Burroughs, and he's really, really pushed out that first stint as Hendrickson. Or has he actually? Well, if he's pitted, he will have had fresh rubber. He's just put in a 1:47.715. So let's have a look. Hendrickson, yeah. Well, they've actually. There was looks like. Well, Hendrickson's been in that car for close to 50 minutes now, so he's getting ever closer to that 80-minute driver time limit in this race. But he's been putting in the lap times like nobody's business, as we're on lap number 30 here at Monza.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what it's about. It's about consistency, and that's the beauty of driver swap races. You've got two drivers, and they've both got different pace. So, sometimes, one is going to be a little bit slower than the other one, and it depends how your pairings tie up to your driver stints. And maybe it is that Hendrickson is quicker than Burroughs, and he's going to close that gap down a bit. But we will have to wait and see. It's all about consistency. But the man that is getting dropped off a little bit is Jack McIntyre, who's losing a little bit of time in third place. He's now nearly 3 seconds back, but he's safe from Pinchbeck, who's 29 seconds or 30 seconds for round figures down the road. But Aaron Walker is now 1.3 seconds behind Pinchbeck, so that gap is ever decreasing.
So we've now had 55 minutes of this race elapse as Mark Neutelings has managed to get past Evan Davas in the number 79 Lexus. That is for 9th position. So Mark Neutelings in the 111 trying to. Looks like the Mercedes has already got a little bit of the legs stretched out on it in comparison with the Lexus, but Dafas is not letting him go. Dafas wants that 9th place back, and it's been a really good effort from both him and from Evan and also Denise Pope so far in this race. And at the moment, the lead is now 5.251 seconds between Jordan Burroughs and William Hendrickson. So it is the two championship protagonists at the moment. And if things were to finish as they are right now, Team Fordzilla & Co. would clinch the championship. They need to finish outside of the top 3, and Hendrickson and Shomatinsky need to win in order to claim the GT3 Driver Swap title this evening. But at the moment, it has been rather faultless from Spears and Burroughs with pole position in qualifying. They've led pretty much every single one of the 30 laps so far, Steve. It's looking rather ominous.
Yeah, it's looking like a top-class championship performance, isn't it? They're doing what they need to do. They're just putting the laps in. Not always the quickest laps, but pretty much consistent. Staying out of trouble, trying to avoid any incidents, picking off the back markers with caution, and just going to bring it home the best they can, and which at the moment is in first place. The one thing some of these guys are going to have to watch are the track limits. As you alluded to earlier on. They will be picking up warnings, and if they get to their 4th excursion regarding track limits, they will get a drive-through, that's a full drive-through through the pits will add a lot of time to, and you will lose positions.
Well, also, we've seen it before where a race has been decided by speeding in the pit lane. Remember Spa-Francorchamps with Coach Dave Academy? Perfect example. And when someone gets tired physically and mentally, it can happen. As we're now on board with Aaron Walker giving chase to Chris Pinchbeck. This is the battle for 4th position, just over a quarter of a second separates them as they now make their way at full throttle at about 5th gear at about 250 kph, heading into the braking zone for the Parabolica. Aaron Walker, he had a cheeky look there, didn't he?
He's just showing his nose in the braking zone there. I think he's just trying to, play the mental game with Pinchbeck and just let him know he's there, put him under pressure, just stay there. But it'll be interesting now. He's in the slipstream and he is hanging on a lot better than it was when Haley was driving. Now they've potentially repaired that damage, and in fact, whether it's the camera angle, but it does look to be closing a little bit in the slipstream now.
Yeah, I've just had a look at the previous lap. Walker 1 minute 48.5. And Pinchbeck 149.1. So the Porsche 0.6 of a second quicker on that last lap. So Pinchbeck is now feeling the heat under the collar, so to speak, as they now go through Curva Grande. So Walker's not done yet, I think, Steve.
No, I mean, that's it. I think he's going to put Chris under a lot of pressure, and he's going to have the car to do it now as well. Although when I was talking to Steve, I stand by what I said. Chris Pinchbeck will drive his lines. He's a seasoned driver. He's done many hundreds, if not thousands of hours on ACC. He knows how to drive that car, and he knows how to run a race. He will just drive his lines, and that's the fastest line quite often, and it's up to the driver behind to find a way around you. And even if he's half a second a lap faster than you, it's not, you're not quick enough just to drive by somebody. And as we've seen, that Porsche, like some of the other cars, the Jaguar for example, can just drive past cars, but that Porsche won't just drive past that Mercedes, not unless Pinchbeck makes a mistake. And I don't, it's not in his character to make mistakes, shall we say, as Walker goes very wide there.
Yeah, kicking up the gravel on the exit of the Ascari chicane, as we are about just over half a minute away from having the completion of the first hour here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. And on lap number 33, Jordan Burroughs leads the way by 3.6 seconds. Aaron Walker on your screens at the moment, chasing down Chris Pinchbeck. So it is a Falterbach in 4th and Stuttgart, or Weissach if you prefer, in 5th place. So it is two of the German powerhouses roaring their way down the main straightaway into the Variante chicane. And again, Walker gets closer and closer on the braking zones there, Steve. But the Mercedes just has the legs on the 3.8 flat 6 boxer engine in that Porsche.
Absolutely, Pinchbeck responded to Walker and put in a faster last lap than Walker. Pinchbeck was a 48.7, Walker's was a 49.1. So often happens. Walker's caught up to Pinchbeck, and if he keeps sort of showing his nose and things like that, driving slightly offline, it does cost you time doing that. But it's all part of the big plan to put pressure on him. And we've got an hour and a half of this race still to go. And everybody is treating it like a sprint race. Everybody is battling for every position at every opportunity. And Walker is certainly putting Pinchbeck under pressure.
I said about that 50-metre marker board in between the two Lesmos. Have you just seen that? That's been absolutely decimated as well. So I think the drivers might be, if they're getting a bit tired, might be getting a bit haphazard. I've just noticed that McGregor and Hendrickson have both been in the car for close to, literally from the very beginning, because we've just had an hour and a minute completed here. So they have got literally 19 minutes, less than 19 minutes, to get that car in the pits and hand over to their teammate. But as long as their teammate does not go over 80 minutes.
Yeah, definitely the tactics come into play, but it looks like they're going to string that out as long as they can, just because he's got the pace. He's been in the car now. He's got the pace and he's putting the fast laps in. There's not much that Ross is doing wrong, so he's going to stay there as long as he can, and he'll pit at the last possible minute to do the swap, I would imagine.
Yeah, very much the case, as we continue to have a look at this battle with Aaron Walker in 5th place in the number 24 Simply Race Porsche 911 GT3R 991-2 variety, and ahead of it. Now, I'm wondering, Steve, obviously we are still using the pre-Evo cars, aren't we, in the GT3 Driver Swap, because these cars, this was around the time when we had the changeover with the DLC of Assetto Corsa Competizione. So the GT3 Mercedes aren't an Evo, and neither is the 488.
No, we started this championship before that DLC came out, before it was even announced, to be fair. So yeah, and the drivers aren't allowed to swap cars during the championship, so it's a level playing field. Although some of the cars they've got different tyre models on them now, slightly different tyre models, so things have changed a little bit, but it's the same for all of them. And as you can see, it's very, very competitive. But the new season next in January, that will be running the Evo cars as well.
Well, Sebastian de Tolinera has just said on the chat, lol, switched off traction control whilst exiting T1. Yeah, definitely an oops on that one. For those wanting to join our Discord, you should see the link on there as well. And if you are enjoying the stream, whatever platform, be it Twitch, Facebook or YouTube, don't forget to hit that like button. If you are on the Simsport official YouTube channel, why not hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell, so at least you get informed about any future races that are broadcasted on the Simsport YouTube channel. It's Aaron Walker again. Oh, that's as close as he's ever been, I think, in the last 2 or 3 laps. And now Chris Pinchbeck senses that Walker has really trying to get his number very, very quickly indeed.
Yeah, he's definitely putting him under a lot of pressure, isn't he? As we keep saying, he's there. He's just applying the pressure. He's not doing anything silly. Aaron's a seasoned driver as well. He doesn't want to push too hard on Chris, because if he makes Chris drive too defensive, like at the moment Pinchy is having to defend, then it will cost them time. And obviously I think Aaron will be very aware that McGregor is realistically his battle on track. And we've got Petterson in 6th, but McGregor in 7th. So Aaron won't want to push Chris so hard that he's defending too much and slowing both of them down. He'll just want to apply enough pressure that potentially makes Chris make a mistake.
Angus Martin has just said, don't want to jump in the car with this battle going on. Superb racing. I think you've definitely you've taken the biscuit and also the words out of both mine and Steve's mouths in the process there, Aaron. Angus, thank you very much indeed. But you can just see how hard these two are hustling as we go back on board the front bumper cam of Aaron Walker's 911 Porsche down towards Parabolica. And in the meantime, I'm just keeping an eye on what's going on with Hendrickson. That was close from Walker. Hendrickson is getting closer and closer. Look, the gap between him and Burrows now 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, definitely that gap is coming down ever so slightly, lap after lap. It's good, consistent driving. It's consistent driving from both of them, although it looked like someone just ran wide, a little bit wide there. There was some dust in the background as we're just watching the Ferrari through there. But back with Walker now. Again, he's lost a lot of time on the straight, but in the braking zone there, you can see how he really closes right up, and it almost looks like he's braked too deep, but he manages to get that Porsche turned in so well. It's so nose heavy, so nose sharp on the nose is the Porsche. It does really turn in well. I
think also one of the big things about it was the fact that the Mercedes has its engine on the front, hence the long snout, but the Porsche, I think, has a really good combination around here at Monza, and you're going to understand completely where I'm coming from here, Steve, is the fact that the flat 6 boxer engine, 3.8 litres of displacement, 6-cylinder, inline flat, turbocharged engine, it's over the rear axle. So when Aaron and Steve get the power on, the car is going to have that better purchase because all the weight is on the back axle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the perfect sort of configuration for getting the drive because, obviously, like you say, the weight compresses the wheels into the tarmac and it gets the drive and powers you out the corner. And it's always been one of the big plus points of the Porsche is there's not an awful lot can get past you when you're coming out of the corners, as long as a driver you get the exit right. It's because it points and goes, but also as I say, it's pretty good on the nose if you again work on the setup a little bit. There's a few tricks of the trade here and there to learn with it, but it's my car of choice and I really like the Porsche because you can really point it into the corners and it does respond well, even if it is a little bit edgy sometimes on some tracks. It's still a very, very good car, I think, in general.
Yeah, and Angus Martin has again been praising our broadcast director. We try and shower Mike Yao from Simply Race with so much praise, but because we're getting such great angles, it's difficult to detract ourselves away from the action because we're now going to another battle, and this is Jeffrey Wolf If anyone might remember when I first started commentating with Simsport Racing, he was in the Ferrari 488 GT3 with the bright fluorescent yellow car guy livery, and now he's closing in on the 488, and that is of Martin de Gala just up ahead, and this is the battle for P10. And look, Wolf is actually a lot closer than the 0.8 of a second it actually shows on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen. Is now they are powered out of Parabolica, and look at the closing speed Jeffrey Wolf has got on de Gala, but it looks like the McLaren has to, well, he's going to try, if he tries and throws it towards the outside, Jeffrey Wolf, you are a brave man, but he thinks discretion is the better part of valour and slots in behind the Ferrari through the Variante chicane, and there is Evan Dafas just behind in the 79 Lexus.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the McLaren just didn't quite look to have the legs, did it, on the straight there over the Ferrari, but it hung with him in the braking zone. It was just sensible stuff. There was no way really that Wolf was going to get round the outside, and he didn't really try. He's just keeping the pressure on de Gala, and he's looking to see if he can force an error and get de Gala to leave the door open somewhere, run a little bit wide maybe, and Wolf will pounce.
Indeed, and if you give someone an inch, they normally take a country mile. As now Aaron Walker pits after that great battle between himself and Chris Pinchbeck over the last few moments. So Walker, will he switch over and change it? Will Steve Haley take up the mantle in the 24 Porsche? We'll find out very, very soon when that car exits the pits. As Wolf looks up the inside of de Gala going through the first part of Ascari and nearly makes it through. Wow, that was a brave move from Jeffrey Wolf, if ever I thought it.
Yeah, I think that was just ever so slightly different line. He turned in from a slightly wider angle and a little bit sooner, just to sort of open the corner up a little bit, and managed to carry so much more speed through the corner. But there was no way he was getting past there because de Gala was he was so far in front and he had the line covered. But Wolf carried so much more speed, and that was really obvious on the from the camera angle there, and he really closed up. But again, looking in the slipstream now, look, he's just about making some ground up in the slipstream, but he just doesn't make enough up on the length of the straight. Getting to the braking zone, and he can close right up again. I think that McLaren does seem to be it's got a slightly higher corner speed than the Ferrari.
Well, I've got to give you some breaking news here, Steve. Jordan Burroughs has been reeled in like a fish on a hook by William Hendrickson. Look at the gap. It has gone down. It was about 6.2 seconds. Now on lap number 39, it's 1.35 at the moment, as de Gala really being pressurised through the Rettifilio chicane, courtesy of Jeffrey Wolf. And this is where it's going to get really, really interesting. Look at the battles up the order as well. Johan Pedersen being closed in on by Ross McGregor. They're over 1.2 seconds apart. Wolf looks to try and carpe diem, seize the day, try and get past Martin de Gala, but coming out of the corners, the 488 GT3 has the legs on the 720S.
Yeah, and obviously Walker's pitted, which has brought Haley out into 11th place. We can just see him there behind Hendrickson, Hendrickson is in 2nd place there, and like I say, has really, really closed up on Burroughs to 1.3 seconds. But back to this battle with de Gala and Wolf really, really applying the pressure, but he's just not really getting the opportunity, and he's going to be forced around the outside here, which is not going to work unless it makes de Gala run deep and wide, and Wolf can cut back on the inside. But let's wait and see if that happens. No, it's not going to happen. de Gala's kept a tidy line, he's got the power on. Again, Wolf just dropping back ever so slightly on the exit, and is he going to be close enough to pick up the slipstream? He wasn't really trying there, as de Gala was well on the inside, but yeah, Wolf's not close enough for an attack in the braking zone, so it's positions maintained for another lap.
Yeah, well, Jeffrey Wolf gets a bit lunch happy through the Variante chicane and actually closes up. But the thing is that if he keeps on doing that, what Jeffrey Wolf is going to do is eventually have an unforced error, and that's going to put him straight into the path of possibly Evan Dafas, who is now in P10 and is just under 3 seconds behind this battle. But let's see if we can go back to the battle. This is between Jordan Burroughs and Will Hendrickson. This is for the lead, and these two are literally 35 points adrift in terms of the overall standings coming into this final round. And Hendrickson he's been running at least half a second quicker a lap than Burrows. But Burrows is just trying to keep it neat and tidy. You said about the magic word, Steve, consistency, and that is key. You know, Burrows has not been pushing it too crazily. Hendrickson has been trying to wind up the wick on that Mercedes, and you can see how much curb he's taken because it threw him nearly off out of the second Lesmo, going a bit wide, but he managed to keep it. So Burrows and Spears know that Hendrickson and Shermatinsky are aiming for the centre of that bullseye on the back bumper of that 185 Mercedes.
Yeah, and it's again for Hendrickson now. It's, you know, he's doing the hard work. He's nearly got the hard work done, which has closed that gap back down again to Burrows. And when he gets on the bumper of Burrows, he just needs to be, sensible and remember that at the moment there's still an hour and a quarter left of this race to go. Still a couple of pit stops for both these guys to do. So he doesn't want to be making any rash moves either that can potentially cause damage or cost time, whatever. You know, he just needs to carry on doing what he's doing, reel him in slowly, start to put him under pressure, and just wait for an opportunity if it presents itself. If it doesn't, you know, maybe when he gets on the back of him, if he can't get past within a lap or two, maybe it's time to come in and make a pit stop and try the undercut.
Well, in the meantime, in all the excitement with this battling, as we see Jeffrey Wolf going side by side with Martin Dagala, as we now cut to that, Ross McGregor has got past Johan Pedersen in the 37 Jaguar and now is up into P5, as into the Retifidio. Oh, Wolf was close. Oh, that was close, and then some for Jeffrey Wolf, as he really put the pressure on Martin Dagala, who's been absolutely eating it up with the shovel at the minute, as now the top two come through the Retifidio chicane, and now they're going to head into the two Lesmos. And Jeffrey Wolf, you can see that it looked like he brakes a little bit earlier than Dagala, or did he just lift off? Because that McLaren quite literally was on the brakes rather sharpish coming out of the second Lesmo.
Yeah, I think it was just discretion is the better part of valour from Wolf there, because I think, you know, he could have maybe tried a bit harder with the brakes there, but maybe he just thought, you know what, I'm just going to keep applying the pressure, and it wasn't a clear-cut move, as it were. He had the inside line, albeit it was a very tight inside line, so, you know, I think that's probably some sensible driving from Wolf.
Right, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are now pretty much halfway through this race, exactly halfway through, and I have spotted that Ross McGregor has pitted. That basically puts it at 75 minutes driver time for the number 23 Bentley of Simply Race Sancho Simsport. So I would imagine, as Evan Dafas now dives into the pits and gets out of the way of this battle between Burrows and Hendrickson. Now, if McGregor has changed over, Simply Race Sancho Simsport are safe. Griffax Engineering, Hendrickson can be out, I think, for possibly another 2 laps, and then he's going to have to pull it in the pits, because that will be bringing it close to the wire for the 81 Griffax Engineering Mercedes, because he's keeping up the pace with Jordan Burrows. They are now just under 0.8 of a second adrift. We're on to lap 42. Anything still to play for, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. But that brings me back to what I was saying. I mean, you know, potentially he's got to within that second there now, and rather than winning the battle on the track, it might play into their hands that he makes the pit stop, swaps back to the other driver, and it'll all pan out. Maybe the undercut will work for them. Who knows? That say they've both got 2 more pit stops to make. There's plenty of time left in this race for anything to happen. As we see in there, Burrows running very wide. That has cost him time, as we see Hendrickson really getting much closer.
Well, CHS Racing just said, watch out for Hendrickson at T1, Mr. Burrows. Well, you might as well watch him through both Lesmos as well, and maybe even the Ascari chicane, which they're just circumnavigating at the moment. Gap now less than half a second. The race really has started from right now. I think the pin has been pulled on the grenade from both cars, and they're trying to lob it in opposite directions, and it just seems like they're at a stalemate at the minute. But yeah, it's getting rather close to the wire, because there's 3 minutes to go. Now I've got a feeling that Hendrickson's now going to pull it in. There we go, into the pits. Hendrickson has saved his bacon by just under 3 minutes. So, and that's a mammoth stint from him. To be honest with you. As John Munro now is behind the wheel of the Bentley for Simply Race Sancho Simsport in the 23. So a long strategy call from both Griffax and also Simply Race Sancho. Will it pay off? We'll find out in just over an hour and 12 minutes time.
Yeah, it's fantastic racing this evening, as we've said already. Less cars on the grid, but it's still some great battling from the front guys, from the midfield, from the back end of the field, all over the field. There's been some brilliant driving. See Denise Pope's back in the car, still in 13th place, so great performance from those guys tonight, because I'm sure that there may be a couple of places, or at least one place they may jump. Santoro hasn't pitted yet. He's a pit stop behind those guys in 10th place. So maybe that's maybe Denise Pope's actually maybe running in 12th place, but a good drive from her tonight.
Yeah, and also Evan Daffas, her teammate in the number 79 Lexus, as there's Stain Paspont and the 617 Dam Busters Motorsport Aston Martin. And to be honest with you, at the moment, I've just been looking at Stan's stint times at the moment. He's done just 53.5 minutes in the second stint, and he's done another 11 minutes and 10 seconds approximately. So Stim can go for probably, I would say, another 11 minutes or so.
Yeah, it's all coming down to the strategies now, isn't it, as they're all starting to play out a little bit. But it'll be really interesting to see what happens when Burrows pits, just to see how that pans out, whether he'll remain in the lead or maybe whether he'll lose the lead on the undercut, and who knows.
Yeah, well, Chris Pinchbeck, I think I've just seen, has come out of the pits, as now just keeping an eye on what is happening at the front of the field. So Burrows still leads. Obviously now that means that Shermatinsky should be the driver that should now be going into the 80. Well, that's that's a different driver. That's Chris McDade. So I wasn't aware of that. I thought it was Ivan Shermatinsky that would have been behind the wheel. He's been the partner of William Hendrickson. So obviously there's been a change. I would have thought a driver substitution there, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's a foot. Normally, we wouldn't allow that because of the championship. You'd have to have the same two drivers throughout a season. But because it's more of a fun championship, an opportunity for people to test things and whatnot, then we've sort of let it slide a little bit this season with what they can do.
Yes, indeed, and he's closing on. That's Sebastian Totolinara back behind the wheel of the 488, just up ahead. And he is actually down Roberto Santoro in the 54 Porsche now in the pits. And as you can see, Burrows, McIntyre, Pedersen, Wiggin, Wolf are the only ones that still have two more pit stops to make, as that's very good driving there from Sebastian Totolinara to let Chris McDade through. McDade at the moment, as Reese Wiggin goes into the pits on lap number 44. McDade is only 3.5 seconds behind the Jaguar of Johan Pedersen, as you see Regan Mitchell behind the wheel of the 43.
This is where I wanted to come to now. I was going to say I would put a little bit of money on this will turn into a race and a half now, because Haley and Walker have jumped Pinchbeck and Mitchell in the pit stops. They've got ahead of them for the first time in this race. But Mitchell, we know he gets faster and faster the more laps he does, and he's sort of 1.7 behind that Porsche of Haley now. So I think this could turn into a fantastic battle again with these two.
Well, I think there seems to be a guest waiting in the interview waiting room. Do you want to have a chat with the birthday boy, Steve?
Yeah, let's go down and talk to Chris.
You can. I shall leave it in your capable hands as always, my good man.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Pinchbeck.
Hello, Steve. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. And I'll forego singing you happy birthday, but I'll wish you happy birthday live on air, mate. And congratulations on the 47th birthday.
Oh, thanks, mate.
How's your race going, mate? You look like you've been having a lot of fun out there, soaking up a lot of pressure from Mr. Haley and Mr. Walker.
Oh, you could just see him coming, can't you?
Absolutely, buddy. Yeah, they were chipping away, but it has to be said, you do soak up the pressure pretty well.
Yeah, they were just. I started off when Aaron first came out. They were 4 seconds behind me, and I could see that getting smaller and smaller. I just thought, right, just keep doing what I'm doing. And then right before, I don't know what happened, but right before they went in for their pit, they lost a little bit of time, and then they've obviously made it back now.
Yeah, well, your mum's just mentioned in chat. She says, "Great drive, Pinchy, kiss, kiss." So you've made your mum proud on your birthday, buddy. So
thanks,
well done
Mum.
for that.
She's always there watching.
And broadcaster, producer Mike has put up on the screen for you there. Happy birthday, Chris Pitchbeck. Hashtag number 47, ripe young age.
He's a good lad, isn't
he? He tries his best, mate. He's always out to impress. Is our Mike. No, I mean it's great racing. I was just saying to the guys on stream, just mentioning there. Obviously, Regan's in the car now. It's the first time in the race that Haley and Walker have been in front of you, and we all know how hard Regan can drive, and he gets faster, doesn't he? He is awesome. I'm right in saying though, aren't I? I mean, I'm not just sort of making this up, but he gets faster the longer his stint goes. He does get quicker and quicker. So I think this is going to turn into a great battle between you guys and Walker and Haley.
He's a hell of a talent. The one thing we've got to hope for is the very last chicane. I was pulling away from Aaron and Steve going through there because that Porsche does not like those curbs.
No, but it seems to be fair, they seem to have got a pretty stable setup on it. It does seem to be riding them a little bit better because, I was saying in the commentary, normally when I've been driving that car, the Porsche is a car that you drive on the edge. Yep. A lot of opposite lock, a lot of corrections and things like that. But when you're watching those two guys in it tonight, it seems very, very stable, to be fair. Either that or they're just making it look very easy.
Well, we were in the chat just before when we were practicing before the race this evening, and Steve wasn't happy at all. And all of a sudden, Aaron pinged him across another setup that he just worked on, and Steve was over the moon with it. He was like, "Oh my God, that's it." He goes, "He sorted out the rear end on it." So whatever Aaron sent him is definitely working.
Well, just for your knowledge at the minute, mate, in case you're not viewing the stream as you're talking to me, the gap is pretty stagnant at 1.7 seconds. You're pretty much lapping, you both did a 1:48.6 on the last lap, so literally Regan's matching Steve's times at the moment. So I think he's going to turn into a great race, mate. You've done yourself proud with your drive tonight. You did what you needed to do at the start. You got away clean. You're fairly well up the field. So great driving tonight, mate.
Thanks, mate. I just couldn't stay with the leaders, but I'm happy with what I did. So
yeah, well done, buddy, and enjoy the rest of the race and good luck to Regan.
Cheers. Thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.
Love you. Bye. They're very happy. I was just going to say, did you he loves everybody, does Chris? He's a very likeable guy.
Newsflash, new term of endearment. When Chris Pinchbeck says "love you," that's it. It's a term of endearment. All right, I'll take that at voice value then.
Yeah, just be careful. His mum's on the stream. We don't want to, say too much about it. But it's a great stint from Chris though, and Regan Mitchell. Now he's actually, as we were saying, that gap was stagnant at 1.7. It is now down to 1.1.
Sorry, I just had a look at the stream. Oh dear, the banter is flowing well and truly this evening here on Simsport Racing. A big thank you for everyone tuning in so far. Lap 47 of the race, and we've got McDade leading the way ahead of Johan Pedersen in the Jaguar, Jordan Burrows in third. It looks like Luca Burke is back behind the wheel of the 105. Jensen, Team Rocket RJN car. Steve Haley. Regan Mitchell doing his very best. He is 5.1 seconds up the road, and there is the. Has anyone got the music for The Great Escape or The Great Strategy for the guys at Dam Buster? Great work by Stain Passpont at the moment. And okay. He is still in the clear for about another 7 minutes behind the wheel, because then Angus Martin, my friend, you will have to take over and bring the 617 home, as there is Mitchell. Oh, getting a bit feisty, showing his nose towards Steve Haley going through into the Variante chicane. And yes, Chris's mum Jean has just said, Steve, yes, I am listening, boys. Good vibes, good vibes. There we go. Happy days.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's happy, aren't they? But just look at the front there. We've got McDade in first place. Peterson, who's still got to make that second pit stop, but Burrows 4 seconds behind, that is the battle for the lead. Luca Burke actually only 2 seconds behind Burrows as well. So that gap's closed right up, because if you remember, McIntyre was 6 seconds behind. Is that Haley? He's just lost it.
Oh, that was out of the. Was that out of the Rettifilio chicane? Yeah, that was out of the Lesmos.
Lesmos too, yeah.
Oh, crikey! Bit of a new Nomex moment for Steve Haley. Virtually speaking, I might add, as Johan Pedersen in the 37 Jaguar now pits from second position, which means that Luca Burke and is back into third place, and there is Jordan Burrows, and between him and Luca Burke there looks to be De Tolinera in the 488 Ferrari. So we've got just over an hour of this race to go here at Monza, and still the twists and turns keep on coming here. This story's been turned upside down more times than a sand timer here, Steve.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, Steve Haley will be kicking himself there at that one, because lap time wise, himself and Regan Mitchell, there wasn't an awful lot in it. But just going to a replay now, I think Steve just lost it all on his own there. Just if we watch, I think he'll run ever so slightly wide. He's just really pushing, and yeah, he just runs. He actually lost it ever so slightly on the AstroTurf and just started to drift. Really good job in catching it and not hitting the wall to create any damage. But it's cost him that position, and that position is it's going to be difficult to get back, I think.
You know what's going to help Luca Burke here in some respects, because he's got De Tolinera just up in front. That's going to give Luca Burke a tow, but then you see that Burrows has got, that is Gerard de Bar back behind the wheel of the 119 Simbro Sport McLaren up ahead. So Luca Burke could start to close in a little bit, and that could actually help him. Look how tight he's getting in behind De Tolinera. De Tolinera runs wide.
Yeah, I think he's letting him go, isn't he? He's sort of running it out wide. Yeah,
so Mr. Pinchbeck did say, yes, Mr. Proudley, Regan does get quicker. Laugh out loud. I did mention about Dam Busters. Well, Angus Martin says, perfect timing. The battle finishes just as I'm getting ready to drive. It's not a Sunday afternoon drive. Come on, Angus. You got to get yourself in there and elbows out, buddy. And then Kieran Vidaga goes, that's just the Porsche doing its best to try and kill you. Is that in reference to Mr. Haley? Was it Mr. Vidaga?
I believe it is, yeah. And I mean, it is, like I said, the Porsche, it's one of those cars that you drive it on a knife edge, quite literally. I mean, all the drivers are pushing all the cars to the limits, but some of them just feel a little bit more sure-footed usually. The Porsche isn't one that feels that sure-footed. Normally it is a lot of minor steering corrections with the Porsche just to keep it all tidy and all in check and get those lap times in. And Steve was just showing there. I mean, Steve's a fantastic driver, but just showing it, even the best can make a little bit of mistake. And again, there's Burke going very wide there and talking about the best making mistakes. That won't have done his lap time any good.
Well, Monroe closing on Steve Haley. Angus Martin promising he's put on a show for you, Alex. Don't worry. I said as long as it's not spinning off the track, Angus, you'll be absolutely fine. As long as you put a good amount of fuel in that tank, not gas, as they say, so you can have the deep fried hot dogs, my friend. So Steve Haley, after that exit stage left, unfortunately, minor exit stage left, we're coming up to the same part on the circuit, and John Monroe is now closing. And look, they're not too far behind Regan Mitchell, so the battle for fourth quite clearly on between these three cars at this moment.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, when I was talking to Steve in the interview, he said that we talked about the fact that McGregor and Munro were catching, and he said, to be fair, that they were quick and there probably wasn't his race, and if they get up behind him, he wouldn't sort of fight too hard. So it'll be interesting to see how hard he will fight, because it could work to his favour, as it were, if they get past and take the battle to Regan Mitchell, as it looks like very much there. He's not defending that hard. He's not giving it easy, but he's just, he's left the door open. He's going to tuck in behind, and he's going to take advantage of the slipstream and following what is a faster car for a few laps to drag him back up to Regan Mitchell, I would say. Yeah,
so I'm just going to do a bit of a brief calculation here. I'll get my false teeth back in a minute. So Stim Passporn is now in the pits. Angus Martin will be taking command of that chariot.
Yeah, Angus has just put in the chat that he says, I'll put on a show for you, Alex, don't worry.
Yeah, and as I said earlier on, if it doesn't involve spinning out, he's fine. But I'm just having a look at the moment of how, so effectively. So yeah, I think they've scraped through on that one. And oh no, Chris Finchbeck has had to reserve what words he's put on the chat. He's gone, Well, I'm gonna basically say yes. Oh poo, Monroe is coming. Yes. Well, he's just got past Haley, and now Monroe is nearly 2.2 seconds adrift in the 23 Bentley, and Mitchell on that last lap was 1 minute 48.285. John Monroe, a 1:48.336. Stephen Haley running in the low 49, so 49.086. So the Porsche's starting to struggle a little bit, I fear.
Yeah, maybe. I think Steve was just a little bit lively coming through Ascari there. He was just drifted out of the latter part of Ascari. Again, if we can get a replay of that from a different angle, it might make an impressive replay, because he looked very much almost like there was a lot of opposite lock going on board there. But maybe he's getting a bit loose, although I think Steve's just driving it mega hard, isn't he? He's trying his hardest to keep up with the Bentley, and he's trying to catch back up to Regan Mitchell, although it looks like he's losing a lot of time now.
Yeah, that is the case. And it's just really one of those things that it's not a case of if, it is a case of when John Monroe has that opportunity to get past Regan Mitchell for fourth position. I'm wondering, what is the gap between... it's quite a big, vast expanse of space between Luca Burke and Regan Mitchell. By my reckoning, it is over 37 seconds at this particular moment in time. Probably nearly 37.5 seconds. And Charlie Fraser says... Tane Tornado is coming for you, in reference to Chris Pinchbeck and Regan Mitchell. So thank you, Charlie Fraser, for that one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that John getting very, very sideways there, really pushing hard. We're going to get a replay now. Is this of Steve Haley doing a little bit of drift? There we go. Just he sort of almost oversteered into that one there, but did really well to catch it, hold it, and didn't lose too much time. A little bit, but not too much.
You know that we've got a hashtag for Dave Hedges.
Yeah,
Dave. I've now got one for Stephen Haley. Sideways Steve. There we go. So I think at the end of the day, it's not been as sideways as seeing how Dave Hedges. There we go. Sideways Steve. A big thank you to Mike Galfer, our broadcast director, as always, providing these fantastic broadcasts every single time. Simsport Racing goes into battle, and this is the final one of the season. 54 minutes and 43 seconds still to go. Some good pace being shown here by John Monroe here, Steve, because on that last lap, gap now down to 1.6 seconds. Monroe, 1 minute 48.063. Mitchell, a 1:48.396. So over 0.33 of a second being gained by that Bentley.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that they said the biggest loser at the moment in this battle is Steve Haley. He just seems to have sort of dropped off the pace a little bit. I mean, his last lap he was back into the 48s, but albeit it was a 48.8. Samol in 7th place he did a 48.5. So Steve's going to 7th place is lapping faster than Steve at the moment, so he needs to be careful.
Yeah, the Jaguar definitely starting to stretch its legs at the moment in the hands of Marion Samol from Exodus Racing Esports, currently sitting in P7 at the moment. And Chris Pinchbeck sending all the love and all the heart emojis on the chat, saying thank you for all the birthday wishes, everybody. Well deserved, Pinchy. Many happy returns, mate. Many happy returns from all of us here at the at Simsport. So Angus Martin saying that he's going to put on a show. Well, Angus, you haven't excited anybody yet. Get going, boy. Get going, boyo. He needs to wind up that wick on that Aston Martin, doesn't he?
He does indeed. He needs to show us what it's made of and make up some positions and do the paint job some justice, shall we say?
He's running in the 151s, the low 151s at the moment. as at the minute, Chris McDade leading the way ahead of Jordan Burrows, but it is not going to be enough for Griffax Engineering to secure the title. Steve, I think at the moment the fastest lap at the minute, I think, is that being held by the Team Ford Ziller & Co crew of a 1:47.7, if memory serves me correctly.
I think it was, yes, indeed. McDade, again, they're just putting in the laps, aren't they? They're just being consistent, and nobody at the front is really doing anything sort of untoward. It's that they're all just putting the laps in, they're all being consistent, no one's making any mistakes. Luca Burke in third place as well. I think the real battle on the track that's going to come very, very soon is Regan Mitchell and Munro, just to see what happens there as we switch now to Regan Mitchell, and we can see Munro is it's that 1 second behind, and he's closing in every single lap. He's lapping sort of nearly half a second, 4/10 certainly faster last lap than Mitchell, so the time is coming down, and I think we're going to see a very interesting battle very, very soon.
Indeed. Kieran's sort of like saying, I think the fastest lap is by John Munro. I'm just trying to sort of... The thing is that I was underneath, the lap times that they were showing. He's done John Munro's done a 1:47.844. So that would be, that's less than a tenth off of the fastest lap, which I think has been done by, I think it was Harry Spears. But we'll get official ratification of that. But the way things are going at the moment, the virtual championship standings, as they stand at the moment, Griffax Engineering, if they take the victory, will have 407 points. And for second position, it's 110 points. So that would put Team Ford Ziller & Co. on 428, taking into consideration if they do get the fastest lap point as well with the pole position. So it's going to be a little bit closer than the 34 points that they had an advantage with. But the way things are going, Burrows and Spears are doing exactly what they need to do. They don't need to win this race. They just need to keep it. Okay, fastest lap. Right, okay, thank you very much. So fastest lap has been put up, so that will be by 20 points that they'll actually provisionally win the standings by. Because obviously Simply Race Sancho Simsport having a 1:47.637. So it has, I think, what was it? The first race at Suzuka, the fastest lap was separated by 2 1,000ths, if memory serves me correctly. Not too sure, but it was either from Charlie Crossland.
It was very, very close, wasn't it? It was literally it was pinched at the last minute as well, I think, wasn't it? It was
that was Fabian Piffet then, because he did the last bit of the stint and he did that fantastic overtake on Shermatinsky to take second with 12 minutes to go. If you haven't seen it on my Twitter feed, it's still on there and it's still gathering views.
Yeah, it was the best overtake and it was the best camera work, wasn't it? It was absolutely fantastic.
Those perlers that Mike Yao brings out when it's playtime, that was a definite perler, Mr. Yao. Thank you for that one, mate. That's definitely going to be on my highlight reel, I think, in 2020.
I think, if anybody wants to watch any of the races, obviously we've got them all on the YouTube channel. If you want to just subscribe to that, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the future streams. But again, like I say, if you want to watch some of the past streams and watch some of the awesome racing we've had this year, please just jump on and watch. And that also includes the charity race featuring Jensen Button and the RGN Team Rocket race that we had with Jensen with the GT3s and GT4s. Some fantastic racing there at Silverstone and at the Nürburgring. So some good stuff to watch.
Okay, we're now on to lap number 55 of this race, and we go on board with Regan Mitchell, John Munro. Oh, has anyone got the Jaws music on standby? Because that's what we're going to need right now, and a big aerodynamically efficient shark fin on that Bentley, as now you can see how close John Munro is. And Munro was over 0.2 of a second quicker on the previous tour, so John Munro really starting to reel in Regan Mitchell.
I think Chris Pinchbeck will be sat at home now wiping his sweaty brow thinking, I'm glad I'm not driving this thing.
I think you're definitely right on that one, Steve. So, Chris Pinchbeck, birthday boy, put your feet up and enjoy a nice ice-cold beer, mate. You've deserved it. Being your birthday and all, mate, well done today. Great drive so far. Really good to hear you having a good chat with Mr. Proudley a bit earlier on. Look how close Monroe was there in the braking zone.
On the braking zone, he just made so much time up. And now let's see what this Bentley can do down the straight. Now he's well and truly into that slipstream with the Mercedes. It'll be interesting to see what sort of speed differential there is and see what John Monroe can do. Is he going to get close enough in the braking zone? Is Regan Mitchell going to leave him space on the inside? He isn't. He comes back across ever so slightly. John Monroe's trying to put it around the outside and go side by side into the chicane, but just doesn't. Regan does an awesome job there of just getting it turned, left enough room for John, but got the exit, nailed it, and managed to defend the position. But something tells me that that's not going to be the last time John Monroe puts his nose down the inside of that Mercedes.
No, definitely not. And to be honest with you, Steve, I thought that Regan Mitchell might have tripped over his own feet a little bit there, because that Mercedes had a little bit of a hesitation coming out of the Variante chicane, obviously running a little bit towards the exit of that chicane. And now you can see again John Monroe closing, waiting to strike like a tiger in the reeds, going through the right-hander at Lesmo 2. And now they've got the long run down through to the Ascari chicane. Again, the Bentley's going to get the advantage. He's about a car length behind. Mitchell is effectively a sitting duck. Which way is Monroe going to put that Bentley? He goes towards the right-hand side. That's going to, if he's going to do a William Hendrickson as well. Regan Mitchell runs a little bit wide over the sausage curls through Ascari. But again, I think that's still...
It was good defending from Regan there. I did question. I thought he was going to lose it when he took so much of the curb and ran over the sausage curbs, as it were. But he managed to keep it all tidy, and he's kept it in front. He's really going to make John Monroe work for this fourth place. But we're going to have take two, I think, now down into the braking zone, into the chicane. Can John make it stick this time? Can he get far enough alongside to go 2x2 through the chicane?
Yeah, and if there's a hurrah added onto the side of that for good measure, it will be well worth the look. He's going for it again. He's just going to wait. He knows now. He's tried it once. He's now going to try and pressurise Mitchell. That was a lot cleaner from John Monroe because he didn't get hung up on the inside of the chicane that time, as Mark Neutlings now makes it two cars that have served their full 3 mandatory pit stops here in the race. We've got just over 45 minutes to go. This is the battle for 4th and 5th if you've just joined us. And look how close John Monroe is. That was going into the Rettifilio. He thought of it, decided to pull back, slotted behind the Mercedes, and just wait. It's a waiting game now. It's not about throwing it up the inside and chancing it.
I tell you what, though, I mean, that from Regan Mitchell there as well is knowing when he can drive his line and when he has to be defensive, because he didn't even defend there at all. He just drove his line because he knew that John couldn't make a pass there. You know, sometimes it's very, very easy to over defend, and it costs you so much time, and it can lead to you actually just giving away the position. Although he hasn't defended this time, but again, he didn't need to. He's managed to be far enough in front, confident enough on the brakes, kept it all tidy, keeps it in check, and he's running a little bit wide there, but again, he'll still be able to keep the power on, and he's really making John Monroe work for this one. He's like, you're not going to have this one easily, John.
Indeed. Well, Mark Neutlings in the 111 has just handed over to Adam Istalovic, and we have just 44 minutes left of this race to go. Chris McDade for Graphax Engineering leading the way on lap number 58, 14.3 seconds ahead of Team Fordzilla & Co.'s Jordan Burrows. Luca Birkin third. Regan Mitchell battling away tooth and nail with John Monroe. The slipstream effect is in full effect.
Wow, that is defending the inside literally on the grass. But this time, John may be far enough up. I think he is if he can get that turned in.
That's close. Nearly banging door panels. And Regan Mitchell plants it around the outside. In the words of John McEnroe, you cannot be serious. Regan Mitchell, what a move.
What a move, and hello to Jack in the comments. They are driving it like a sprint race, mate. That's how they take all of these races on. They just split it up into 3 little sprint races. So it's always good racing. It's always good to see. And these two guys here, John Monroe and Regan Mitchell, just demonstrate how close you can get in ACC at Simsport Racing.
someone put me into a dark room and give me my tablets. And in the words of Kieran Vidago, how did Mitchell hang on to that one? Your guess is as good as ours, Kieran, but that was, I must be completely honest, that was completely full commitment, full belief in himself, and just powered through that corner. And I think John Munro thought there is a possibility I might get up the inside, and Regan Mitchell was doing the thou shalt not pass manoeuvre.
Yeah, absolutely. Defending really well. Regan is a top-class driver, as is John Munro, so both of them are going to put on a really good show for us here. But you can see in the distance, he's still a few seconds back, but Steve Haley is going to benefit from this, because I think he might start to close up, just depending how long this battle goes on. Can Regan Mitchell really hold John Munro back for 42 more minutes? One more pit stop each to do. Who knows, but it's definitely John Munro's not close enough this time, I don't think, to do anything. Regan's weaving, trying to break the slipstream, but he's John Munro's nowhere near making it. But,
yeah, I've just noticed, sorry to cut across you here, but Luca Burke has lost time. He's lost time to both Mitchell and Munro, so there is a possibility.
Jeffrey Wolf. Sorry to just put in the chat that Burke crashed at Ascari.
Oh, another twist in the tail. It's Roy Monroe's just said cat and mouse super. Yeah, it's like a moving game of chess around Monza. That's how it's been at this particular moment. So Luca Burke has had a massive moment, and as you said there, Steve, a crash at Ascari.
John, did you just there? John Munro was full Tokyo drift there through Lesmo too.
Look, Luca Burke, look, he spun it coming out of Ascari. Oh my goodness, Luca Burke lost it and did a full 360. We caught the tail end of that, but you know what this means? If Mitchell and Munro stop battling, start getting a wriggle on, they can possibly catch Luca Burke, because I'm looking at the gap, and that's not as much as I might have thought, possibly 28 seconds. If Luca Burke has had a problem with those tyres, they've still got one more pit stop on that 105 McLaren. Let's have a look at this replay. I want to see this. Okay, this is now coming through into Ascari. Okay, through the second part of it. He's now going to turn left. Watch what happens. Oh, the back end!
Yeah, it
properly steps out.
Took too much inside curb there, and it just lifted the back end, lost contact with the tarmac, and just stepped out on him and went round. Did well not to hit any of the walls or anything there, but just he's in third place. He's in a safe third place. He'll regroup now, get his head down. He's a pro driver. He'll be fine with that. He'll just regroup, like I say, and he'll just consolidate that third place now.
But
this battle is still heating up. It's still on the cards as Munro's just weaving there. He's just trying to apply the pressure. And again, Regan Mitchell knowing when to defend, knowing when he doesn't need to. He's just soaking up the pressure at the moment. We've seen Regan in the GT3 Championship. Over this past 12 months, the battles that he's had, and again how much he's improved as a driver, Alex.
Yeah, definitely the case is now Regan Mitchell really being given the hurry up by John Munro, and that is very, very close between the pair. 39 minutes and 10 seconds still remaining, so we've just done over 1 hour and 50 minutes of racing. There have been so many twists and turns at the moment, Steve. I really, really cannot believe it at all.
No, absolutely not. I mean, this is again. I mean, I know we talked about, and John said himself that that they're fueled for going long on this one, on various pit stops, and we know that they do tend to go long with the Bentley and just do the pit stops quite late in the race. But this could be an occasion where it would benefit them to pit now, swap the tyres, come out, and start putting some laps in, maybe. And do the undercut, because I think it's definitely on the cards. I think Munro is definitely faster than Mitchell. He's done all the hard work. He's caught him. He just hasn't got enough in the tank to get past him. And when I say that, I think he has got enough in the tank to get past him. I think Regan's just doing an absolutely awesome job of defending.
Yeah, definitely the case. CHS Racing, who are big supporters of both John Munro and Ross McGregor, saying that the bagpipes, they are a playing and they're chanting, send it. And that's what John Munro has been trying to do come hell or high water, trying to get past Regan Mitchell. But as you said, Regan Mitchell has done an absolutely fantastic textbook job of defending all the way through this last, 15, 20 minutes, where he and Munro have been at loggerheads all the way through, and it's still a quarter of a second between the pair at the minute.
Yeah, definitely. This is the battle of the evening, I think, with these two at the moment. Hopefully, it'll carry on for some time because it's absolutely fantastic to watch. But it's John Munro making an uncharacteristic mistake there, just sort of missing the apex a bit, and he's lost a bit of time. But I'm sure he'll close up all that time again. We know that he's got the faster lap times in him, faster than Regan Mitchell, and he can catch. But again, like I say, I just question whether it'd be worth him doing the pit stop now.
Very, very true. Okay, so at the moment, 3 of the 16 cars still running here at Monza have made their 3 mandatory pit stops, as there was a little bit of kick-up of dust. Oh, that was Denise Pope I've just spotted in the background that's just gone off track, off of the Ascari chicane exit, but she is still currently in 10th position at the moment. So great drive by the 79 crew there, and we've just seen that De Tolinera in the 488 Ferrari has now just decided to make their final mandatory pit stop with about 37 minutes on the clock remaining. So there are still positions to be...
There he is, John Munro's in the pits.
Right, okay.
He's gone into the pits, so maybe this is a case of be interesting to see if Regan Mitchell will respond now, because he'll know that Munro's got the pace on him, and his best option would be literally to come into the pits next lap, do his mandatory pit stop, get back out, and hopefully get back out in front of John Munro. But we shall see.
Yes, indeed. So De Tolinera, Marcus Hagel has also pitted in the number 54 Porsche from what was 11th position. So the strategy is really starting to be playing out as we foresee, and still conditions have been pretty much the same. Very much blue skies up ahead, a little bit of slight cloud cover, but not by much. Track temperature 16 degrees Celsius, air temperature 22 degrees Celsius. So we will very shortly... Christopher Pinchbecker said, I've got my spanners ready in the pits. Oh, have you, Chris? So what's that going to help with? Maybe give Regan Mitchell's engine a bit of a tune-up before it goes back out again, maybe? Who knows?
Trust me, if Pinchy touches it, it'll never run again.
Oh, that was a low blow and a half there, Mr. Proudley, but well worth hearing, I must admit. And Roy Monroe's gone, check every nut and bolt on that car, please. That'll take him probably until the 39th of November in that particular instance. But here we have Chris McDade partnering William Hendrickson at Griphax Engineering. They have really done the undercut number on the Team Fordzilla & Co. crew of Jordan Burrows, who still sits in second position along with him and Harry Spears, and 19 seconds off of McDade at the minute, with Luca Burke now is about just around 11 seconds off, but he's now started making up more time. So it looks like a podium, as both Mitchell and Haley have now decided to put in their final pit stop, try and get the undercut on John Munro, as there is Gerard Debar not too far behind Luca Burke and has just got past that is probably the car of Santoro in the 54 there. So there's Regan Mitchell currently in the pits, and that will mean that Munro will probably jump past the pair of them. What's happened? Haley's just jumped Mitchell. Did you see that, Steve?
Was he pitted behind them? Yeah, no, he's pitted further up, so he's further up the lane. Steady on, boys, don't get too excited. Just to let you guys at home know, we've got the Mikey, the producer, just he's just jumped him. So you guys can't hear that. So sometimes we respond with remarks that you are aware of who we're talking to.
Well, Chris McDade is now pitted from the lead after 63 laps, so that's going to change everything. And Will Munro actually still get out in front and stay in front of Stephen Haley. There's Daniel Parker. They've still got one more pit stop to make, as has Dorazio in the 135, partnering Gianluca De Luca. Gerard De Barra and Denise Pope still have to hit, as has Burrows, Burke and Samol. So we are getting closer towards the final.
He's done it. He's in front still. He's managed to stay in front just now. Can he defend this now? Hold your breath, boys. Munro's got the inside here. He's got his nose up. Don't think Regan can defend or can. Well, never say never with Regan Mitchell. He's defended it, but Munro's got the cutback. Job done.
There was a bit of. I think there was a bit of a blunder. I think there from Regan going through the second part. I think took a bit too much curb, and that just really cost him time, didn't it?
He went into the first part very, very defensive. Had to go in late on the brakes to defend the line, which made the angle also much tighter for the second half of the chicane. And John, being the seasoned racer he is, just let Regan defend the first part and cut back on the second to take the place.
Well, the thing is that Regan's just come back out on cold tyres, and now he's being lapped by the leader, Jordan Burrows, going into the Ascari chicane. So that means that the leader has now lapped all the way up to 6th position at the minute. So, these new tyres, as Kieran Vidago pointed out, they're going to need 2 to 3 laps, maybe more, to warm up. So Burrows leading the way with 32 minutes on the clock still to go, but let's not forget that they still have another pit stop to make, as do the 105 crew of Burke and McIntyre. So the strategy calls still playing out in front of our very eyes, like chapters being read from a book at story time, but Regan Mitchell trying to close in on Burrows to try. Well, if he is faster, he can sort of technically unlap himself, can't he, Steve?
Yeah, he's allowed to unlap himself, but I don't think he's quick enough to unlap himself. I think he's just he's hanging on there, and he's just using him as a tow, as it were. And he's maybe thinking that'll drag him back up to John Munro, although I think John Munro is quicker than Burrows. I mean, John Munro, he's gone now, hasn't he? He's literally just checked out and disappeared.
Yeah, he's scarpered up the road, isn't he? But also, he's not too far off the pace of Samol in the Jaguar. And the Jaguar is quite a fair bit of time up ahead. But the thing is, in the pit stop phase, what will happen is that probably the Samol will be jumped by Munro in the pit stops.
Yeah, definitely.
In that respect, anyway. So Denise Pope now comes in and brings the 79 Wild Things Lexus into the pits for the final time in this season, and also this year for us here at Simsport Racing, as we will have 4 more cars that still have to serve their mandatory pit stop. Looks like Mr. Haley has joined us down in the interview booth there, Steve. Do you want to go and have a chat with him?
Yeah, we'll go see why he messed up and let Regan go past, I think.
Again. What happened, mate? I was expecting a good battle between you and Regan, but you more or less gave it to him, buddy.
Yeah, that sucked. Our pace was all right. It was better than it was in the first stint. I was running a lot more fuel, I think. So towards the end of my stint, the tyres felt a little bit second hand. But I mean, it wasn't too bad. But Regan just had the pace. Then that. Especially through Ascari, he could make up half a second through Ascari on us just like that. And unfortunately for us, the Porsche doesn't like the curbs there, and it certainly looks like the Merc and the Bentley seems to kind of eat them for breakfast.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we did comment, to be fair, you were looking a little bit loose towards the end of your stint, and we did get a nice little replay of you drifting out of Ascari with a little bit of a broadside, as it were, coming out. So, it looked like you were losing time, and you were definitely, even when Munro passed you, we thought you might try and tag onto the back of him, but you just didn't seem to have that option. We just seemed to drive away from you.
The idea was, absolutely. Once Munro caught us, there was no point in battling him. He was that much faster than us. So the idea was to let him go and then just try and tag onto him, like you said. Unfortunately, it didn't kind of work out according to plan. Even though there was battling like crazy, there was still like 0.4 of a second faster than us a lap. So it was crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, just watch the stream back. There was some fantastic battling between those two guys, and some great defending from Regan Mitchell. Some good driving. Just unfortunate, it's over now, and Munro managed to get past him, and he's literally just driven away from him. Now he's 4.5 seconds up the road. But I mean, for you guys, I think when the pit stops shake out, you're in sort of 6th place. That's not a bad result for Monza with the Porsche, is it?
Initially, we said we'd be kind of happy with 5th, top 5, or maybe 6th. Yeah. So I mean, considering the cars around us and what we're up against, I think we've done really well to get 6th.
Yeah, and I mean, the season on the whole, I mean, how have you found the driver swap season with these drivers? Because obviously we've got some new drivers in here that aren't part or weren't part of the regular Simsport community. It's, you know, our championship seems to draw different drivers in depending what class and what discipline you're doing. So have you enjoyed the driver swap championship? Is it something you're looking forward to us doing again?
You know, I've said it before. I love the driver swap. I love the fact that you're part of a team. I think that having the new guys join us, I think it's only a good thing. Obviously, if they're faster than us, it pushes us to be better. You know, so I mean, yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed it, and I know Aaron's enjoyed it as well. So, yeah, I'll look forward to the next one for sure. But I think we may not go for the Porsche.
No, maybe don't handicap yourself with the Porsche and pick something a little bit more that's on par at more tracks and maybe not quite so heavily bopped. But no, you've had a good season, buddy, and as ever, yourself and Aaron have been entertaining with your driving, with your strategies and with your performances, and it's been a pretty good performance from the Simply Race Porsche team. So great stuff, mate, and good luck to Aaron for the rest of this stint. And I'll catch up with you after the race.
No worries, dude. Catch you in a bit.
Cheers, Steve. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, so Steve Haley there, relatively happy with the result, although they said they maybe were pushing for a top 5, but he'll take a top 6. I mean, there's some good drivers on track. He's had a couple of mistakes. They've had a couple of incidents. Obviously, the damage in the first stint there didn't help them. So, yeah, all in all, a pretty good performance from those boys.
Yeah, also, a new fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 47.508. And guess who? Number 23, a Bentley, a Simply Race Sancho Simsports, John Munro. And he is trying to see what he can do, because obviously there's been a few changes. Luca Burke pitted, and that has now given the car back to Jack McIntyre. Marion Simol still out in the 37 Jaguar, rounding out the top 3 apparently, and also Jordan Burrows still out in the 185. So 2 more cars out of the 16 still to pit for the final time, not just of this race but also for the 2020 as well. Bit of a run wide there, coming through one of the that was the first Lesmo there by Jordan Burrows, as it looks like he's got Regan Mitchell just behind him as John Munro now filters his way under the bridge heading into the Ascari chicane, and Marion Simol now pits with just over 25 minutes to go. So we have to wait and see when Jordan Burrows will pull the trigger and decide to blink and then pull the Mercedes in for the final pit stop of the GT3 Driver Swap season here, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. The final one, the final race of the year, mate. It's been an absolutely fantastic year. We've got a lot, as we were just talking with Steve earlier. Then we've got lots of new drivers, and what's even better, we've got drivers of all abilities. We welcome the beginners, the less experienced drivers. But look at the drivers we've got on track tonight. Look at the drivers we've had at some of the other events. We've had some real top class racers join us, and not but least John Munro here in the Bentley, absolutely putting in an awesome performance.
So the leader now is in the pits, Jordan Burrows, on lap number 68 of this race, with just over, I think it was around about the 24.5 minute remaining mark, as there looks to be a stricken cone to the entrance of Curva Grande. I think we also saw one of the foam barriers off of the Variante chicane after that turn 1 skirmish. Just over 2 hours and 5 minutes ago, still just off the racing line. And Munro trying to wind up the wick on that Bentley, and he is putting in the fast lap times. He's actually the second quickest out of the drivers in the top 5 at the moment, because at the minute Chris McDade has just been in a personal best of a 1 minute 47.976. That's his best effort. So he's just gone P1 because he's managed to jump Burrows in the final pit stop phase of the race.
Yeah, very much so. That's job done with 23 minutes to go now. It's just about being consistent and, like I say, bring it home for a P1 and fantastic drive again this evening.
Yep, so Chris McDade makes his way through the Rettifilio chicane, heading up to the double right of the 2 Lesmos. So Mercedes sweeps its way into Lesmo 1. Doesn't take too much of that AstroTurf, so it doesn't kick the back end out. Through into Lesmo 2, curb hopping on the right-hand side a little bit there from the 81 as he now powers his way down underneath the bridge that will lead to the Ascari chicane. Will very shortly be completing lap number 69, so we'll exceed 70 laps of this race here at Monza at the very, very least. Probably, I think we could be close to 80 laps or thereabouts with the pace we're actually seeing at the minute. So McDade running in the high 147s, 147.976 at the minute, as he now gets on the brakes from around about 260 kph down through to what will be probably around 3rd gear, power out of the corner, let the car run a little bit to the left, run it wide as much as he can to carry the momentum through the corner. And the gap between McDade and now Harry Spears, who's decided to jump in for the final stint for Team Fordzilla & Co. The gap was around about 22 seconds last time around. So McDade doing a really good graveyard shift to bring the car home for Griffax Engineering here, Steve.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job. Like you say, they're just keeping it consistent and keeping everything clean, just putting the laps in, not doing anything silly. Don't want any damage, don't want to trip over any back markers. It's all calmed down a little bit in the race now as we come into the last 20 minutes. The positions are more or less sorted out. I think it is just a case of the guys bringing it home. Has to be said, McIntyre and Burke have done a pretty good job in 3rd place. Obviously Burke had that spin, so they would have been a bit further up the road and closer to Spears. But if it hadn't been for that spin, but I think the drive of the evening has to be John Munro and Ross McGregor, really, for me. I know it's a little bit early to call it with 20 minutes to go, but they were pretty much dead last at one point, I think, almost, weren't they? And they've literally come back through the field and through consistency and good hard battling, good clean hard battling, managed to make their way up to what is now 4th place.
Yeah, very much the case there, Steve, because at the end of the day, as we see Harry Spears run a little bit wide coming out of Lesmo 2, they were literally nigh on stone dead last after that turn 1 skirmish that saw McGregor having the initial advantage. We saw the double tap that he got from Hendrickson. Obviously, the first one was, I think my judgment is possibly racing incident. They were battling for position. And I think the second phase of that, where Bentley basically got T-boned on that particular side by the Mercedes, it was just a chain reaction of that event that was happening. So realistically, we are going to leave the incidents that have happened tonight to the stewards. But I think at the end of the day, I would have to agree, because we know that those 2 drivers have gelled with that car so well since the opening round at Silverstone, and it's just been, to be honest with you, we knew that they were going to come into strife possibly at Spa. It was definitely very much, it was made public by them. They didn't really bat an eyelid about telling us, sort of airing their motorsport dirty laundry, if you will, about having to put the brake balance so far forward in order to allow the car to get to 3rd place at the end of it all, but still to get a top 3 at Bathurst. And to come back from, 17th now up to 4th. It's been a mega drive by just both John and Ross in this race, and I have to give credit where credit's due, like you do. We've only got 19 minutes and 10 seconds, but to be honest with you, I think for me the Simply Race Sancho crew in the 23 Bentley are the drivers of the race. Who are your drivers of the race out there, to those of you that are currently watching? We want to hear from you via the respective chats on YouTube, Twitch and Facebook. Please give in your votes who you think are the drivers or the team of the evening here at Monza as we go into the last 18 3/4 minutes?
Yeah, just watching Munro now, just doing what he needs to do, not taking too much curb, just driving his lines. And there's Regan Mitchell, obviously still driving as hard, but didn't have the pace of Munro. Put up a fantastic defence, but once John Munro got past him, that was it. He couldn't hang on to the back of him. But Pinchbeck and Mitchell, fantastic result for them. Top 5 finish for those boys. Pinchbeck put a solid first performance in. We saw Chris Pinchbeck soaking up loads and loads of pressure from Haley especially, and he just soaked it up. He just drove his lines, and then we saw Regan Mitchell absolutely under the cosh from John Munro for a long time, and John Munro, I think, almost got past him several times, and I think he even got his nose in front a couple of times, but Regan Mitchell still managed to bring it back from the brink of losing the position to defending it with some awesome defending, but just great respect shown by all the drivers, Regan and John especially, but we've seen some other good overtakes this evening. We've seen some other drivers running it close side by side. We've also seen drivers back out of moves. Discretion is the better part of valour, as we said earlier. So it just goes to show the quality of the drivers that are on the grid tonight.
That should be the Simsport Racing catchphrase. Discretion is the better part of valour.
You mean instead of lick it and send it?
Well, that's the Danny Rick style. So we could probably have both, mate. I mean, no, you can't be too greedy in terms of Freudian catchphrases, eh? Matra et Alpine saying, watching John Munro deserves the accolade. I've completely blanked my right eye, so I haven't seen who's won BBC Sports Personality of the Year, and don't put it in the chat, please. I want to find out myself. Kieran Vidago has put Walker and Haley at Porsche's more than a handful. Thank you very much, Kieran. So still, I did notice that Evan Dafas actually pitted. Were they a bit short on fuel? That's what I'm thinking. Was the 79 a bit short on fuel with about 18 or so minutes to go? Did they get the fuel calculation wrong? Or was there damage on the car?
They did pit quite early in the race, didn't they, due to damage, I believe. So maybe that threw them out of sync, and their fuel calculations were out. So maybe they've had to pit for some extra fuel. Who knows? We may find out later on. If not on here, maybe in the Discord chat. And again, anyone wanting to join the community, forgive the segue, but join our Discord community. You can find a link in the chat this evening, or you can head over to our website, which is www.simsport-racing.com, and you can join in the banter and have a bit of fun, chit chat with the lads, and who knows, we could be commentating on you racing next season.
And then you'll find out why Simsport Racing is the place to race. Chris Pinchbeck has said that Regan Mitchell should get it because he's such an amazing young talent. Clap hand emoji there. Charlie Fraser says John Munro for driver of the day. There's I think there's quite a few solid votes coming in. So a big thank you to you all for doing so. We're coming up to the last 15 minutes, and the front of that Jaguar, that Exodus Racing Esports Jaguar, looks like it's been cutting. It's got quite a bit of dust on the front, dirt on the front splitter, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. It looks like he's been in the wars a little bit there. He's probably run wide a few times, and especially at Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2, I would say. But I mean, going back to the driver of the day thing, all right, I think you can say that John Munro and McGregor definitely get the team of the day. But I'd have to say one of those two guys would have to be driver of the day. But I think that's the hard bit for me, is picking which one, because Ross showed great steel, grit and determination, having got sort of spun at the first corner to make it so far back through the field. And then John's just put the icing on the cake by matching that driving, really, hasn't he, and having a solid performance and doing what he needs to do, and especially the battling with Regan, where he really put the pressure on and got the job done in the end, all very, very clean and no contact, and just fantastic racing.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Adam Isalovic and Mark Neusling's currently running in P8. A good drive from them this evening. So good to see that Adam's bringing the car home here at Monza. So we're on lap number 74 of this race at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. And to be honest with you, over what's been a very, very difficult year for us all, obviously with the latest news, I know that a lot of people, I'm not going to talk much about it, but obviously the tiered systems over Christmas here in the United Kingdom, a lot of news coming out quite recently about travel and things like that. I'm not going to go into it. It's been a difficult year, but when I joined Simsport Racing, Steve, I really, really fell in love with the community aspect of what we do here. You know, it's great to have these broadcasts, but to get to know the drivers on a personal level, it's really, really been a thrill, mate. And it's been a pleasure having you as my right-hand man in the virtual commentary box every single time. Well, apart from that one instance where you decided to have the same setup as Aaron Walker in season 1 of GT4 at Laguna Seca for the season finale in the wet. It's been absolutely enthralling so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's great racing generally, and it's fantastic to watch, and it's great to commentate on. And in the community side of things, there are no prima donnas. Nobody sits up there on a throne. Everybody's there to be talked to. Everyone's there to have a laugh with. And believe you me, we do have some banter in the Discord, all very respectful. But we do, it doesn't matter who you are, you will receive banter once we've introduced ourselves and said hello. That is, but it is a great community to be part of, and it develops some fantastic friendships within the community, and there's some great guys in there. And I just want to mention another team that I think Adam Zalovic and Mark Neulins, they're a very understated team. They're one of those teams that they're in the background all the time, and all of a sudden you'll look in the top 10 and you'll say, oh, there's Mark or there's Adam. They're again pretty consistent drivers that don't necessarily put the fastest laps in a race, but they are there, they're consistent, and that's the thing they've worked on within their driving over this last 12 months, I would say, is the consistency. Both of them have competed in a lot of driver swap endurance races where consistency matters, and it's definitely showing now with some of the results and the performances that they're putting in. So great to see those guys doing what they're doing as well.
Yes, indeed. So we're coming to the latter stages, the dying moments of the 2020 season here on Simsport Racing. It's been an absolute pleasure. We've got Roberto Santoro now. Angus Martin, where is the show that you promised me? You're slipping, mate. I'm sorry, you're slipping a little bit. Unless he's going to do a defensive number on Roberto, who's closing up on his back bumper quicker than I can shake a stick at in a minute. And it looks like they've got Evan Duffus just in front of them in the number 79 Lexus. So, but I have to give credit to both Angus and Stijn Pasmont for trying the great strategy call, as I'm going to nickname it, the Great Escape, with that matte green paintwork on that Aston Martin. Well done, boys. Great job. Did your level best, and still they're going to, they're hopefully going to finish in around about P12. So a lot of drivers still doing their absolute utmost. They are still pushing after what is very shortly going to be 2 hours and 20 minutes of racing, as there is Santoro trying to go up the inside. Oh, there's the show we were waiting for. Angus going off track. Sorry.
Was there some contact there, though, Alex? I'm not quite sure.
I'm not too sure. There might have been a little bit of rubbings racing there, and I'm sure that Angus might have just thought, well, we're not that far away from the end of the race, but let's just see if he can lick, I'm going to say it, lick the stamp and send it up the inside of Roberto towards the end of the race. It could happen, but he's 2.3 seconds off now. He's lost all that time.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's Daniel Parker in 14th place. We saw his teammate Pixley involved in an incident earlier on where he had to wait and give the position back, which cost him some time. But good to see Daniel Parker and Pixley in 14th there, driving the Lexus. Not a bad result for those guys. As we see someone receiving a stop-go 30, that's for speeding in the pit lane.
Yeah, that is Carlo Dorazio, the teammate of Gianluca De Luca from Team EOS Esports. They get a stop-go 30. And I'm wondering, that's going to be one of two things, because normally we'll have a stop-go 30 for track limits or speeding in the pit lane.
Speeding in the pit lane for a stop-go 30.
Okay.
Track limits is a drive-through.
Thank you for reminding me. I have been on a very, very steep learning curve with learning the subtle nuances of the ACC system here. But we're going to go to a little bit of replay. Here's the replay of Roberto Santoro going up the inside of Angus Martin. Now, this is going to be through Les Mode 2. There was a little bit of a touch, but I don't think it was that much, really, to be honest with you. The gap was open there for Roberto to try and do that. CHS Racing gives a shout out for Ross McGregor for driver of the day for the overtakes at the start. Okay, we're going to have a look. Now, this is on board with Roberto, so let's see. Comes out of Les Mode 1, absolutely closes up very quickly on Angus, and I think that's one and 500 of the other there, Steve, a bit, to be fair.
Yeah, it'll be a difficult one for the stewards to decide if it's complained about, but yeah, definitely, because it almost looked at one point like Angus had just reacted to the fact that he was up the inside rather than it was a tap on the back end. But yeah, we'll see. No judgment. Like I say, it's very, very, very tight to judge. It was only, if it was a touch, it was the lightest of touches.
Right, so there's Evan Dafas in the HTRC Wild Things Lexus, still circulating in 15th position. Denise Pope, I think, was in the highest position for that team this evening in 7th place after the first lap. Variante chicane carambolage, or the Variante mess, as I'm actually going to allude it to right now, is DeLuca. Well, it looks like Gianluca DeLuca's got it back into that car now, with about 7 or so minutes left remaining. So it looks like, Steve, at the rate we're going, we're probably going to exceed 80 laps.
Yeah, 7 minutes to go. It's definitely looking that way, isn't it? So it's been a pretty good race from the guys. Decent sort of race pace. The first few guys have certainly, they've been in the 47s and the 48s. It's looking like Spears has done a 47.3, so he's now got the fastest lap of the race. As Natafas runs a little bit wide there and loses a lot of speed. He's going to have to watch out for those cars coming up behind him now. But yes, Spears has just put the 47.3 in on the last lap, so that's a cracking lap from him.
Yeah, one of the cars actually behind. Well, you've got a couple of cars there. Dafas has got, I think that's Santoro behind, and there is the race leader, Chris McDade. So good spatial awareness there from Evan to get out of the way. And there is Gianluca DeLuca in the 135 Team EOS eSport McLaren, coming out of the pits with. That is Aaron Walker that's just gone past him. Regan Mitchell is about 10 seconds up the road in 5th place, with John Monroe still in 4th and is about 10 seconds ahead of the number 43 Apex Motorsport Mercedes. So we're coming into the last 6 minutes. Chris McDade will now cross the line onto lap number 79. So 1 minute 45. That's probably going to be about another 3 or 4 laps, I think, by my estimation. So we'll probably be on 82 or 83 laps at the end of this race, Steve.
Yeah, a great lap count, as I say, for the time. It just goes to show the pace that the boys are putting in. They're pretty quick, the guys at the front. Like I say, they're still in the 48s, and second place is still in the mid 47s. He did the fastest lap of 47.3 previously. His last lap was a 47.4, so he's still pushing. His Spears in second place is pushing very, very hard, and putting some good times in. Hopefully everybody's got enough fuel in and no one's going to get caught out. I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, but I don't believe we've seen any drive-through penalties for track limits either yet in this race.
No, it's been all ship shape and Bristol fashion. They've crossed the T's, dotted the I's. So a good job by every single one of the drivers that have raced here this evening, even though we did lose the Phantom Sim Racing pair, and that was of Matt Denham. Matt Densham and Niall Schleter earlier on in the race. They completed only 8 laps before the in-game crash gave them a disconnect and booted them from the server. Real shame for them. Angus Martin trying to get my attention again, aren't you, Sunshine? Running wide and kicking up the gravel coming out of the Variante Ascari. That's the first time I've actually used that in this broadcast as well. I haven't gone the full linguistical Italian approach here, Steve, tonight. You'd be pleased to see.
I have noticed, yes, and I've missed it, I'll be honest. I always find it entertaining in a good way, to be fair, buddy. I think it's one of your strong points, as it were, is the pronunciation. And as you probably learnt throughout the time commentating with me, I do rely heavily on you for that.
Well, to be honest with you, it means at least we can be on sort of level peggings in some respects. But to be honest with you, with having been a long season, there is a time when you do decide, I'm going to go back to basics. But to be honest with you, yeah, it has helped. It's also helped with the surnames as well. You know, the multinational crew, the community that we do have. You know, the likes of Adam Misalovic, Johan Pedersen, Ivan Shermatinsky, to name but a few. Fabian Puffer, known as Seven at the Team Fordzilla crew, amongst others. So through Curva Parabolica, there we go. We're going to start for the last 3 minutes as Regan Mitchell comes out of Curva Parabolica with 3 minutes on the clock to go, still running in 5th position, as now he's going to head to the... You know what? I threw myself off there.
I was going to say
the Prima Variante.
We've got the last 2 minutes and 40 seconds of the last race for Simsport Racing for 2020. I think you should just go full Italian now on us.
As they say, avanti, dai in Italy. Go for it. So now, out of the Prima Variante through Curva Grande, now goes Regan Mitchell. He's now going to head up to the Seconda Variante, or the Variante del Retafiglio. And then we'll head to the Curva dell'Esmo 1 and then 2. And then there is one corner I have actually not mentioned this entire broadcast, and this will bring a big smile to Steve Proudley's face in just a moment, because now out of the Curva dell'Esmo 2 we go into the Curva del Saraglio. The first time I've mentioned that this evening.
Well,
in the last 2 minutes.
It's not really a corner, is it?
No, it's a bit like the Parabolica at Hockenheim. It's just a little bit of a kink on it. It's meant to be a straight, but it's not. It's a little bit bent. If you see what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's it never gets mentioned, does it? I mean, Ascari, Parabolica's the famous corner here, isn't it? I think you agree. It's the one they need to get right, as we're just on board with Regan Mitchell now, as he just turns it in for the first part of the Parabolica, just touching the apex there and then running it out wide. He'll put 2 wheels over that line almost. He'll try to avoid the rumble strip on the exit, as that can cost you a little bit of time, and brings it back across to the right hand side, running it nice and tight. And hopefully he's got the optimum drive out of that corner to maximise his speed down the straight as he approaches now the braking zone at about the 150 board for the turn 1, and he'll turn it in nice and early there, allowing him to open up the second part and get on the power and just run it slightly over that rumble strip and keep the power planted and get a great drive out of there as he goes into Curva Grande.
So through into Curva Parabolica for what will be the penultimate time on the bottom right hand corner of your screens. There is Chris McDade for Griphax Engineering, and with the timer fast clicking down to 2-0, we now go on to the 82nd and final lap of this race. It's been a great performance by all of our drivers so far this evening, even though we had a very truncated grid. 17 starters, 16 will take the checkered flag. Every single one has made their mandatory 3 pit stops, and all have changed tyres and made the relevant repairs and such like. And now through Curva Grande goes the 81 Mercedes AMG GT3. I'll use the actual proper pronunciation is AMG in German for this car. For Mercedes AMG GT3. If I went full German, then no one would probably understand me anyway, because I do speak the language anyway. But now we go to the Curva dell'Esmo 1 and then 2 for what is going to be the final time. The clock has struck 0. That is it for 2020 here at Simsport Racing at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, as we now head towards the Variante Ascari for the final time. You can see the speed increasing 250 kph under the bridge and climbing up to 260 on the rev limiter, down through the gears from 5th to 3rd at about 130 kilometres an hour. That's 80 miles an hour. Out of the Variante Ascari comes Chris McDade, puts the power down, up through the gears from 3rd to 4th. Red line now engaged and now 5th gear engaged as we head to Curva Parabolica for the 82nd and final time. Down from 5th to 2nd, and it is going to be a win for Griphax Engineering, the pairing of William Hendrickson and Chris McDade in the 81 Mercedes, as they flash, as Chris flashes the headlights and the checkered flag waves for Griphax Engineering, but it is not going to be enough, because round Curva Parabolica, it is going to be one hell of a victory, because provisionally by 21 points, Harry Spears and Jordan Burrows become provisionally your GT3 Driver Swap Series champions here on Simsport Racing by securing second. A great job by our third place drivers, the Jensen Team Rocket RJ and duo of Jack McIntyre. And also, you're going to have to remind me of the other name, Mike.
Luca Burke.
Thank you very much, Steve. John Monroe brings home the Simply Race Sancho Simsport 23 across the line. Regan Mitchell will bring home the 43 Apex Racing Mercedes AMG GT3 in 5th place. Johan Pedersen brings home the 37 Jaguar in 7th, ahead of Adam Isalovic in the 111. Jeffrey Wolf brings home the 119 Simbro Sport McLaren in 9th place. Aaron Walker, paired with Stephen Haley, brings home the number 24 Porsche 911 GT3R 991-2 across the line in what will be 6th place. Martin Zagala will finish in 11th behind Ranjith Kelsey and also Reese Wiggin in the 71 Ferrari, who are actually the highest placed Ferrari, provisionally speaking, with Roberto Santoro in 12th, Angus Martin in Dan Buster's 13th, Daniel Parker, Evan Dafas, and then we had Gianluca De Luca in the 135, and obviously Niall Schleter and Matt Densham not making it to the finish, only completing 8 laps. But Steve, just to think, it came down to the wire again for our last championship in 2020 here on Simsport Racing, but we've had some outrageous overtakes this evening as well, mate, even with 17 competitors.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic racing. We've said it many times this evening, because there has been so much good driving, some fantastic moves all around the field. We, the last 20 minutes were a little bit steady. A lot of guys had settled into the positions, the gaps had built up, but previous sort of couple of hours had been absolutely awesome. There was battling all over the field. There were some guys not just battling for 1 or 2 laps, they were battling for 20-30 minutes, and battling clean, close and hard, and not just the front guys battling close and hard. It was right down to sort of 13th, 14th place, running together side by side through the corners. No contact, just absolutely fantastic racing, and credit to everybody that was on the grid this evening, I think.
Very much the case, and this is where it all started, and there was an absolute nightmare, I think, for John Monroe and Ross McGregor, with Ross being behind the wheel. We're just going to have a quick look at this. This is how close it can be going into the Prima Variante, and so Spears gets the jump, McGregor follows in, and there goes Hendrickson with Luca just being beside him. And there you see the first tap, and then the T-bone happens. Yeah. And look, just behind, oh my goodness, the 111 of Isalovic and Neutling's got turned around as well at the same point. And then in sneaks through Denise Pope and goes, oh, and I've noticed, she's just got on Twitter, she said, what was it? I'm going to have a look now. It was like P17 to P7 at turn 1. Monza, you have redeemed yourself. Brilliant, best tweet of the evening. But it looks like we've got some drivers in the interview booth. So should we head down and have a chat with these guys one final time before we call a close on our 2020 year of adventure here at Simsport Racing?
Absolutely, mate. I'll follow your lead on this one.
Right, so first things first, I haven't spoken to this man in quite a while. Good evening, Jack McIntyre. How are you, buddy? Long time no speak.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. That was a good race. I always find these enduros a little bit stressful, but no, that was actually really good fun.
I think it was quite funny when you put on the chat. This is a full-on sprint. They're not classing it like an endurance. Well, it's always the same with Simsport Racing, but of course, yourself and Luca picking up third place. You guys were in the hunt for what I thought would have either been possibly P2 or a podium, or maybe even the race victory. But it was just the pairings of Spears and Burrows, and then obviously McDade and Hendrickson. They were really, really strong in those Mercedes, and the McLaren didn't have the sort of top end to compete with them, did they?
Yeah, the Mercs are really strong here at Monza. I think Luca probably had the pace to really fight for P1 and P2 right at the start. Then I dropped back a little bit in my first stint, but I think in my second stint I sped up a little bit and was pretty much on leader's pace. But yeah, the McLaren's really it's fun to drive. It's tricky and it's really interesting. Keeps you on your toes. But no, a really good race. Really enjoyed it.
That's good to hear you enjoyed it, Jack, because it was a pretty good performance, buddy. Coming into a new community and basically sticking it on the podium. Luca, just if I can just go over to you, buddy. That spin, was that just a case of too much curb?
Yeah, I might have just been a bit too aggressive. Like I was really pushing to get past for P2, but yeah, I might have wanted it a bit too much. Lost the car.
Yeah, did well though, buddy, because I don't think you picked up any damage at all. There was no contact with the wall, so all was good, and you were in a solid third place. So obviously he didn't really lose anything apart from time to the guys up front. But no, again to you two guys coming into a new community for your first time out, that was a great race, and hopefully you'll join us in the future for some more of these events.
I would love to.
Yeah, cheers, thank you.
No worries, well done, boys.
Yeah, well put there. Big thank you, Jack and Luca. Well done for third this evening. I do have to speak to about the sole crew representing the love for the big cat, the Jaguar, Johan Pedersen and Marion Simol. Guys, despite come hell or high water, you guys have absolutely been the talisman for Jaguar in this season. Just tell us first of all, Johan. We'll go to you. The Jaguar did have the legs on quite a few cars this evening, including, I think, the Mercedes.
Yeah, it did. It actually surprised me quite a lot how good it was, seeing how bad it has been on some of the other tracks.
Yeah, I think myself and Alex, when we were on the build-up to the race, I know one of our GT3 championships, we held a race here, and some of the guys were running the Jag, so we sort of had a bit of inside knowledge. We knew it was quick at Monza, and I did say to Alex, I expected you guys to do well, and you didn't disappoint. It certainly seemed to have a lot of speed, and there was a couple of overtakes down the start-finish straight where you literally just drove past the cars quite easily. Didn't even need the slipstream almost.
Yeah, yeah. It's just a little shame that we got the accident on lap 1 and corner 1. But yeah, I think apart from that, we would have finished P7 anyway, because the guys they are so quick. no chance to catch them today. But I was also surprised how quick the Jaguar was over the whole season. I mean, it was a good car except for Suzuka. Struggled a bit there, but on the other tracks it was actually a lot stronger than I expected. But I knew it was going to be good at Monza, so. Yeah.
No, it was a very solid result this evening, and congratulations and well done on that result. I think it was an awesome job in the Jag all season long. To be fair, guys, I think you've done the Jaguar very, very proud, and it's great to see. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now turn our attention to the Simply Race Zancho pairing, who fought back after that turn 1 incident, as I'm going to call it, the Varianti mess. Or carambolage, or whatever you want to call it. John Monroe and Ross McGregor. Ross, firstly, I want to come to you. Now, that is a very, very difficult situation to come back from. We had a look on from several different angles that William tried to set it up the inside going through into the Varianti chicane on the first lap, and we noticed there was a slight touch, but then obviously there was more damage sustained by the Bentley as a result of the the domino effect where the front of his car hit the side of your car, and you guys decided, as John said to me earlier on through the chat, to repair the damage and just sort of go hell for leather. And both you and John literally made that Bentley have a set of wings around here at Monza. It was quite emphatic to see, and I think both myself and Steve were impressed.
Yeah, as you say, we got taken out at turn 1, and we had proper front running pace here. I actually expected to win this race, so it was really disappointing. Yeah, as you say, just had to keep it going for a wee while. Big damage, so about a second a lap slower than what we should have been. So we decided that we were going to make our first stop early, and then I was going to just do a longer stint with heavier fuel. So once the car was repaired, run heavier fuel, like 90 odd litres, I went out and I set fastest lap, so that kind of says it all really, about where we were tonight. And yeah, after that it was a bit scrappy for me. I spun, just trying to make my way through traffic. Got into a couple of incidents at Parabolica, just basically being caught out by their guys and their braking points, but I guess that's on me, so I just want to apologise for that. So yeah, my stints were pretty scrappy, not all of my own making obviously, but the pace was there, and John took over and he had a really clean and consistent couple of stints, and again he was doing really good lap times, mid 47s. So yeah, we had the pace to win the race easily, and it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, John, I need to come to you now. Obviously you had that brilliant battle with Regan Mitchell, where you were literally going towards the outside of the entrance into the Varianti chicane off at the main straightaway. And for him to literally, I think, we could see it coming. You tried it once, it didn't work. He still managed to keep it planted around the outside. But then for you to literally send it, I think it was the third time in, and he literally hooked it up on the rear end of that Mercedes. Were you as surprised as we were that he still kept that position in front of you?
Not really, to be honest, because the Mercedes has really good kind of traction, and the Bentley's probably one of the Bentley's weakest points is traction out of slow corners. So I was just really enjoying it, to be honest, and I was trying to obviously send it down the outside, the inside, go all over the place, and he defended really, really well. I think it was hard but fair the whole time, and I was obviously just trying to make the move without any contact. And yeah, I think the final time out, the first chicane, I thought I had him there, but obviously I made sure I left enough room because I knew he would probably try and be around the outside, and yeah, he just came out of nowhere and back down the side of me. So it was great racing, and obviously it was really nice as well to then, when he came out of his pit, he was right in front once again, so the battle was resumed. To be honest, during the battle, me and Ross were saying to each other we could undercut here because I knew I had better pace, but I just decided against it because it was too much fun. I was just they're too far away. Luca and Gaka did an amazing job coming in for the first race and jumping on the podium, and they were too far ahead. So it was basically a decision of wanting to enjoy the race and enjoy a good scrap. So I'm glad I did, because it turned out well in the end.
Yeah, well done, buddy. Because I think, John, I was. If you watch the stream back, you'll hear me almost screaming 3 or 4 times, saying, "I don't know why they're not pitting. They need to pit. They can undercut here. John can undercut."
Don't worry.
But I mean, absolutely fantastic. Respect to you and to Regan, because that, as you said, that was some of the closest battling we've had for a long time, and you both showed each other so much respect by leaving each other just enough room. And as you say, Regan did an absolutely awesome job in defending. He really made you work for that position, and if we can just have a highlights reel put together to sort of promote Simsport Racing, I think it'd just be that. It was great stuff, and thanks for putting on a great show, both you and Ross. Really unlucky at the beginning, because I do think you would have been on that top step of the podium with the pace you had, but got your head down, regrouped and put on a fantastic performance.
I appreciate that very much, and I also just want to say a massive congratulations to Harry and Jordan for the title, because those guys, especially the second half of the season, Spa onwards, they were really, really strong and did an awesome job to do it when it mattered as well. And also, to be fair, Macaulay and Parker, big shout out as well, because they've obviously they weren't here today and they had a problem last time out, but the first 2 races they were sensational as well. So just want to say well done to all those guys too.
Yeah, hopefully we're going to put another driver swap championship together next season, and this was like just a test championship. That's why we've let a few drivers swap around and things like that. But hopefully we're going to put a proper one. So I would really, and I'd like to sort of openly invite you all back for that one, and hopefully you can find time in your busy schedules to take part and compete with us.
Yeah, sounds great. Really looking forward to it. And as you know, for the whole season, thank you so much for all the commentary and the broadcast. It's been absolutely top level. It's some of the best broadcasting there is. So very much appreciated. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. And while you guys are in here, we'll say thank you to Mikey Howe, because he's the one that puts the pictures on the screen, and you guys provide the racing, and me and Alex just talk about it. So it all works together. We're all as good as each other.
Indeed. Look, I've got a slight TeamSpeak problem, so we're going to have to finish here on Discord, I'm afraid. Funny that. Every time we go to interviews, I have a problem with TeamSpeak every time. I've got to try and get this sorted out for 2021. But Steve, it's been a fantastic season, hasn't it? And 2021 is going to look even brighter and better for us here at Simsport.
Yeah, very much so. It's been a real teaser of a championship. As I was just saying to the boys there, we are planning other things, and I'm hoping we can put something really special on for 2021, and hopefully all of the guys, or most of them, can make it back and just help Simsport keep growing with the racing, with the standard of racing, with the quality of racing and everything about it, from the broadcast to what happens on the track, and obviously there's the Discord community where we all have so much fun. So yeah, please, if anyone wants to get involved in that, as we've said so many times, we've put the link in the YouTube chat, and if it's not in there, if you can't find it in there, www.simsport-racing.com. the links are all on our website for all social media. It'd be great to see new members for 2021.
Over 600 members in our community and climbing from all walks of life. That's it from us here at Simsport Racing, and a very Merry Christmas from us all here. We look forward to seeing you on the track in 2021. On behalf of my fantastic co-commentator, Mr. Steve Proudley, I'm Alex Goldschmidt, the official voice of Simsport Racing, the place to race. Have a very good Christmas and a very happy New Year. Stay safe wherever you are, and watch out for what's coming in 2021. And don't forget, you can head to our official website, simsport-racing.com. That's it from us. Have a very good Christmas and a good New Year. See you next season. Take care for now. Goodbye.
Good night.